The following program contains adult language and juvenile conversations. Listener discretion is advised.
Today on the world's most dangerous radio show, we will learn why our listeners are the best in the world, and they have a sick sense of humor and a loving vendetta against me. Speaking of loving vendettas, I am sure Johnny Wolfenstein will tell about the phenomenal slam I got from Donna Matrix at the Deadites photo shoot this week, and not the kind I want. In addition to that, we have a special guest, and we'll hear a lot about the Halloween extravaganza. All this and more when I welcome you to Trick or Treat Radio.
Welcome all you little zombies. You're listening to Trick or Treat Radio, starring the Deadites.
Welcome to episode 319 of Trick or Treat Radio. Trick or Treat Radio is a phantasmagorical spin kick straight through the heart of pop culture, navigated by the Deadites. The Deadites are the world's greatest electroshock band. We destroy monsters, we drink booze, we win championship belts, and we have a guest for the first time in a long time coming up. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Wow.
And that guest is Preston Fassel, who is an author, and his book is going to be the first book released on Fangoria's new imprint, Fangoria Presents. So it's really exciting. The name of the book is
Very exciting.
Our Lady of the Inferno, which apparently got I think it got a release last year, but it was only available for a very short time before the company that published it went out of business or something like that.
That's kind of the way it is with,
Yeah.
As you will find this week, perhaps, it is very easy to start up a digital publishing imprint. It is very hard to pay offers and keep it going.
Yes. So I don't know the story there. Maybe we'll get into it. I don't know. I'm more interested in the book, so I don't know if that's a fun story that we want to even explore. But yeah, looking forward to it. And it's really awesome that Fangoria is not only are they releasing a magazine in a month, and by the way, if you guys are listening to this before September 11th, if you want to get in on the Fangoria subscription and get in time to get the first issue coming out in October, you have to do it before September 11th. I saw them post that graphic up. So if you guys are interested, I already got mine in there. So I'm looking forward to getting my print Fangoria in October. So if you guys want in on that, go ahead and maybe we'll post the link up on the Fib, on the Facebook group in case you guys have not seen it yet. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, they're doing that. They're putting out movies. They're putting out books. Lots of awesome stuff coming from Fango. So looking forward to talking to Preston and
In all physical, Johnny, which is the best part.
Yes, absolutely. They're not even doing digital at all. I mean, for the magazine anyways. So in addition to that, we are going to be talking about a film called What Keeps You Alive. And was released by IFC Midnight, directed by Colin Minihan. And we're going to be talking about that actually maybe in about 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to try and do an abbreviated intro here. And so that means no socio-political
I want to talk about it now.
discussions. The movie?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, now.
We have some a couple other things. We can jump into it, though.
Those.
I have a feeling that the conversation is going to be very brief because it's very difficult to talk about that movie without spoilers.
Yeah, we might have to do like a I don't
Spoiler
know.
section?
Like,
I don't know.
Not like a spoiler, but
You're not
I
talking
didn't
to
see
your
any
mic.
trailers
Yeah,
for
there you
this.
go.
Yeah, I have to readjust myself. Because
Ooh.
it's a weird.
I
Like
got yelled
I
at
feel
last
like I
week
don't
for
have
that.
this sort of special.
Let me do it for you.
But like I haven't seen the trailer, but the trailer has to
Yeah, I didn't see the trailer either.
spoil it, right? Like I feel like even though was a surprise
I don't know.
for me, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't seen the trailer either, which I'm glad I didn't. We'll get into that when we start talking about the movie. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit, and then, as I said, we're going to talk to Preston, and we got a few voicemails. If you guys are interested in sending a voicemail, there's still some time. Send it to podcast@trickortreatradio.com. You can send a voice message or an email if you're listening live. If you're listening after the fact, you can send it in for the next episode or the one after that. We always love hearing from you guys. especially we love hearing your voices. So if you want to send in a voice message, we'd love to hear from some first timers. I haven't heard any from any first timers in a while. We haven't heard from any other countries in a while, like Kostroma, Russia, or your mic's off. Your mic's off. You're having all kinds of problems.
Man, I don't feel good at all. So
Asia, pick up.
yeah, no, not
Who? Asia Argento?
We can't talk about that either, I don't think.
We could talk about it.
I'm not even sure what happened.
No, we're not getting into it.
Yeah,
It's going to take too long.
I just said we can't talk about it, and then you said, well, we can talk about it, and then you said we can't talk about it.
I didn't say we can talk
You're
about
like
it.
fucking
Said
Jack
you could.
Palance and Shane.
Shut up.
Pick up the gun.
You know what, Raven Shadow?
What?
We may have some first-time listeners.
We might, Johnny.
So you know what we should do?
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
What?
Is it a gun?
Is it gone? That's 4 words, Aries.
Oh, shit.
You got 11 left for the episode.
I forgot a pen. I can't keep track.
Oh, shit.
Damn it.
Oh.
Oh, crap. Damn it. No.
That's
right.
it.
Well,
That's it.
I'm
Yeah,
done.
well,
I'm out.
You're done.
We'll see you next week.
Prior to going on the air, MZ said that Aries only had 15 words. There we go. So, all right. So we may have some first-time listeners because every episode could be someone's first Raven Shadow.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
It's definitely true. I think it's been proved self-evident.
We had Genevieve checking out the show last week or the week before. I don't remember.
Genevieve in the house?
she's a plant.
She could be. I don't know.
No, she is
She
I don't think so.
like what kind of plant? Like
like
A tulip?
Yeah, like a Raven Shadow paid.
oh,
friends to
like
sit
one
in
of
the
those.
front row and
Oh,
hold We Love Raven Shadow. So
That's not
Ah.
true, but I will do that.
you'll pay people to do
I
that.
will do that.
All right.
Because none of your friends come and see the Deadites or anything.
Whoa, someone found some words.
actually, that's not.
Just because you get a friend to listen to the show doesn't mean it's a plant.
Yeah, but they don't necessarily agree with me all the time. My friends never agree with me.
I don't
If
agree.
someone
with
agrees,
that.
I don't
if someone
agree with
agrees
that.
with if someone agrees with Raven Shadow, you know that they're in cahoots because there's just not any.
There's somebody that likes me.
No.
Well, you know what? There's somebody that likes us in the chat room who we haven't seen in a while. That would be our buddy from Down Under.
Oh,
Drive
shit.
Jacket fucking Mark.
Fucking right.
Hey, Mark, what's going on,
What's
brother?
up, buddy? Miss you, bud. Hope everything is going well in your neck of the woods.
I love you, sir.
I want to kiss that dude in the mouth.
And and all right.
Right?
And apparently, did you guys hear this? That flat earthers think that Australia doesn't actually exist.
That
Yeah.
would make me feel
Yeah, I
better.
saw that.
What?
Dopes.
Where would all those great car stuntmen come from?
Yeah.
Man, and dangerous sharks and spiders.
Fuck that noise. Speaking of listeners that we love, both Raven Shadow and I got to spend a little bit of FaceTime with fellow podcaster and listener Lance Beefpile.
Yes.
Nice. I didn't know. I knew Raven Shadow got a chance to see him, but I didn't realize you had Mars Man.
Yeah, he at a ridiculously stupid early time in the morning for me, like 11 a.m. or something like that. Derek Rook and he pulled up at my house, and we went and had delicious cinnamon French toast.
Ooh.
And it was great. He's a real cool guy. It was great to meet him, and I got to tell him how much I like his show. And I always say how I like how much I like people's show and try to give feedback. But it was nice to say, eye to eye, say I enjoy your show, and this is why I enjoy
Cheek
your
to
show.
cheek?
And, yeah. So, what's funny, and this is the first time that this.
And
has happened
what
to
is
me.
his show? The Give Me 5 podcast?
The Give Me 5 podcast, and he also had an awesome phone case that had it right on the back.
Ooh.
But he is the first podcast person that I've met.
that didn't ask for your autograph.
No one's ever asked for that. That didn't.
Yeah, people have
That
at
didn't-
Rock and Chalk.
That didn't look like I thought they were gonna look like.
Well, we've seen him on the internet. How can he not
I've
look
never
like
seen a picture of him. I don't think.
Yeah.
I didn't know at all what he
D.
looked
Rook posted pictures of him.
like. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't know what he looked like.
Wow.
But the minute you hear his voice, though, that's the fucking dude.
Yeah.
You know, know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
he came in, we took pictures together. It was nice.
Where are they?
I don't have him. He didn't send them to me.
He's probably not going to post them online. He'd be a little ashamed.
Well, let's be Johnny. Don't be a
Message.
jerk. Raven Shadow can't bring his newest camera into the comic shop. the gunpowder will mess up all the comments.
That's fair. I'm working on it. I got some plans.
So that's awesome. I'm glad you guys got a chance
Yeah,
to,
it's real nice.
meet Lance
And he
Beefall.
specifically told me to say hello to you.
To me?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I put you over big time, so if you ever ask him, tell him.
Mars, Genevieve says, I love you, Mars. No, I'm not a plant.
See?
Now I know she's a plant.
And then we got our boy Rocky.
All right, Rock.
Rocky says,
Rock.
Kumquat channel online.
All right, Rocky.
All right. What else was I gonna do? I thought there's some. Oh, yeah. The other thing I was gonna do is not that it was really in doubt, but all the paperwork has been signed and it is official. We will be at Rock and Shock. Not that there was any doubt,
Yay.
but just letting everyone know, we have the booth all taken care of. We will be at Rock and Shock. I believe we're going to be located next to Survival of the Film Freaks once again.
Good.
So
The ink has dried on the contract.
yes. So we will be there, and we really want your beautiful faces to be there as well.
And Johnny, we're bringing not only maybe some Deadites, but someone else too.
Who?
At our table during the weekend, and probably jumping back and forth because he's friends with those guys, is our good friend Cinema Therapy, Jimmy, director of the
Jimmy
film Red
Gonzalez.
Man.
Yeah.
Is going to be hanging out at the Trick or Treat Radio
Nice.
table. So yeah, that's going to be great. And I think we might be dragging the Screamstress along, which will be awesome because she is one of the only ones that isn't afraid of some of these guys. So it'll be good.
Actually, well, probably because she hasn't met him.
Right, exactly. All she has to do is talk to her husband and learn that it's a
Yeah.
mistake. But
Yeah.
She likes me.
everybody
She
did
doesn't
it
know
first.
you.
No.
Two pass out on the stairs ago, everybody thought you were fucking great.
They've made a lot of strides.
Yeah, it's true. Well, those aren't strides if Aries is actually dragging.
We also have Pabst hanging out, Dynamo's
There you go.
son.
Yeah, I loved
dude.
making him
He says,
with my sperm.
Evening, folks. Who's his mom? Do you remember?
We don't want to talk about that publicly.
And we also have someone named Iris hanging out. What's up, Iris? Iris says hello.
She's trying to watch Wally and Barry's show. Not
Nice. There you go. It's a flash fact for you.
All right, since we do have some new people here, Raven Shadow,
Yes.
let's do some fucking intros. I am Johnny Wolfenstein, the pencil pusher and producer of media for Trick or Treat Radio, the Deadites, and also one of the co-hosts of the Outside Corner Fantasy Baseball podcast and the Five Hossman Wrestling podcast. And looking forward to the next show, Mars, the Five Hossman. We're gonna basically
Yeah,
like
ton
a
of stuff.
ton of stuff to
I
talk
watched
about.
a little bit of everything today just to kind of see
Yeah.
what things look like.
Yeah. I've been kind of checking out a few things here and there. So looking forward to that show. It'll probably drop in the next couple weeks. We also have one of my co-hosts on the Five Hossman, the immortal gunslinger, singer, and lyricist for the Deadites, Dynamo Mars.
Hi. It's
Hi.
me, Jake.
Jake. We also have the vulgar guru of horror, the star of Blood Pigs, Fetus, and the upcoming Morbid Tales and Septic, one-time contributor for Horror Hound magazine, Monster Zero.
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
We also have the triumph riding, stage erecting, whiskey drinking, chief of security, the warrior of nor'easters, America's sweetheart, and Rick Rubin's stunt double, Ares, god of war.
Hello.
That's one word. You can use that one again. And yeah, Mars, what?
Did we take stage erecting out of there?
No, I said it's the second thing.
Because if we did, we're definitely probably going to have to put that back with the amount of bands the COVID was shoving on this show. So.
More than 2 days' notice.
Yeah, give him 2 months notice
Could
right
you
now.
just build a stage over the stage?
Yeah.
Actually, he only has about holy shit.
Yeah,
It's like
fucking
6.
wild, right?
It's like 5 weeks.
Yeah, it sucks.
God damn it.
I'm having bad anxiety. I have to
Like Raven Shadow.
I just Dominatrix made some wheels and deals too, and somebody I'm hoping to have in a guest in the next couple weeks. And I just today, after you knew when the conversation happened originally, got to sit down with those person and kind of, as you said, make the ink sign the deals and make the ink dry. So.
Yep. We also in the chat room, Drive Jack and Mark says, any of you guys been watching Castle Rock? I have not. I don't think any of us have seen it.
No.
No.
You know what? I might wait till I don't know if they've all aired yet, but I might wait till they all air and then check it out. Just kind of maybe binge them in a weekend or over a week or something like that. Rocky says Ares has the corpse of Pepe Le Pew displayed on his chin to incite fear.
Yes.
You know what's funny about that? That he thinks that it's dead.
And Pap says I'm a couple episodes behind, but I've really dug Castle Rock so far. So there you go. Gets the Pap seal of approval.
It's true. The Pabst Blue Ribbon, if you will. Don't drink that, by the way. That's bad for you.
It's fine. It's a good breakfast beer.
All right, well...
Listen, no. Don't build me up a fucking buttercup just to fucking let me down, dude.
We have the chain smoking, hand kissing, baby shaking, lorazepam loving, former comic book reading nerd, the official smoke chamber for Castle Wolfenstein, the Pippa Promotions, the Italian rapscallion, the professional bullshitter, the cool principal, the proprietor of the sexy speakeasy, Mr. Runtime, the Parisian brew hall himself, and the secretary of the sexy speakeasy, Michael Ravenshadow.
That's right.
What
Your proprietor and secretary.
I am, and I'm also a client.
Yeah, go sit on your own lap.
So Prince of Promotion.
Yes.
I can me and
Prince
John.
Pimp. He's the pimp.
Pimp. Sorry, me and Johnny can just sit back and relax, and the club's going to be full on the 12th. Right?
Oh my
'Cause
God, people are
You've been
coming.
at it the whole time, right?
Oh, it's so many things. I want to surprise you.
Right. Well,
So I don't want to show you.
the last few years, I have been a surprise of all the people dressed like Floor.
Empty chairs.
I am working on some machinations that will be very triumphant on that weekend. That's true.
Machination.
Machinations.
Are you? I think the only thing you're working on is to be able to fucking sneak away to that bar and not get caught this year, because every year you
All
get
right.
caught.
But every year I'm there less and less. I had to bring.
It's at the table, you mean?
I had to take Joshua
Actually, he was
Lieber.
good. He was good last year,
Yeah.
He wasn't sober though.
Well, I wasn't.
for the most part.
Oh yeah, it was really fucked up.
No,
Wasn't
you weren't
like-
too bad.
No. I think I was worse when I had short hair.
Like fucking Samson. The shorter your hair, the more alcohol you need to overcompensate.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a whole thing. And the chain gang haven't been there, so maybe that's why.
I think they're barred.
They can't come in. That was a rough end of one show.
Well, yeah, sure. So so we took Deadites pictures this weekend.
Oh yeah, that was
for
awesome.
the first time in a while, and it was something I wanted to do forever. And Johnny Wolfenstein is very entertained that probably the podcast favorite Deadite, Miss Matrix. By favorite, I mean the one that people are always asking me when she's coming on next, and they enjoy having her the most, and I don't blame them. Politely gave me a little barb, and Johnny thought it was funny, and that's pretty much that's the end of the story.
No,
It's just a little thing.
Everybody thought it was funny.
No.
So we're taking pictures. You know, everyone's lined up. I'm watching from the sidelines, of course, because I'm not in the band.
Right.
And so it was a little warm, maybe like mid 80s. Not like it's
Plus, I was sick. We found out.
sure.
Yeah.
So he's
We
sick.
didn't know it then.
So you know, do you want to say what the picture is going to look like, or do you want to surprise people when it's?
I won't, but I am going to show Raven Shadow right now because in Aries because they'll know what it is.
Oh, I think I know what it is.
All right, so you pull it up, and I'll continue the story.
Yeah.
So, the picture, everyone needs to be very close together in the picture,
Yep.
and it's shot from a high angle, so everyone need to be like closer than it actually looks like, because had to get everyone in. There's like eight. I think it was 8 people in the picture, and so Tiny was setting up the picture. You know, he actually what he did was he snapped the picture, dropped the camera, ran into the picture, and then it still took. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah,
but
it was crazy. It was spinning.
it was like some Bugs Bunny shit. But anyways, as he's setting up the photo, he tells Mars to get a little bit closer to Ms. Matrix, and he was kind of like sweating a little bit.
Like I was sweating profusely.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't want to get too close because I don't want to get her wet. And she's like, so she said, honey, you've never gotten me wet.
Oh.
That should be the
and
cover
so
blurb.
Wow.
Mars was despondent for that should be the blurb, like a little
Yeah, it should.
word balloon coming out of it. And so Mars was despondent for 2 hours and finally had a comeback 2 hours later when she was long gone.
Yeah, it wasn't even like it was like.
And it wasn't even a
intentional,
good comeback.
Oh yeah. It was.
Yeah.
It was about on that level, and like it was literally like I was out on my feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Like I was like, yes, I did. And then like it was just me and Johnny Wolfenstein and Tiny in,
Yeah.
in the funks in a basement. Like
As the kid said, you got wrecked.
Yeah.
Bad.
Destroyed.
But she's looking good in that.
There
pic.
was like
Can I see the picture?
Yeah.
I didn't even see
She
it.
looks.
great,
She
it's
looks
great.
fucking fat boo in that.
there
picture.
was like a Masawa bump like bump chest like rib compression there.
It was like
she
a-
she
it was-
looks really
It
good
was like
there.
a Kawada tiger driver in your fucking head.
I mean, she's making me froth.
Jesus Christ.
That's great. She loves that. Tell her that next time.
Yeah.
Just in case you're wondering why she's not Rocket Shock this year.
Yeah, you like it, Raven Shadow?
That's great. Yeah.
Should I show?
Secret.
Should I show the camera?
Yeah, quick.
All right. Anyone
Timestamp.
wants to see? All right, that's it.
Guess the reference.
That looks good. Is that the final one, or is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
As you
okay.
can tell, because Mo Raz is mysteriously in purple face.
Oil face, oil spill. Yeah, it's a good one. Oh yeah. He did a good job on that too. Yeah, that's awesome.
He's like
Tiny's a fucking wizard.
Yeah, I don't like him. Because like you shouldn't be good at like him and K Rock are the same. You shouldn't be good at all that stuff and still be. Not that he's attractive, so I guess that's what the drop off is. Like
He's not bad looking.
he
guy.
traded his
He does
looks.
have to wear a mask.
Yeah,
but
he traded his looks for talent. Like somehow K Rock manages to have all that and talent too. So
You know what? We're gonna hold off on the break. Why don't we go into the film discussion?
sure.
We'll skip the first break, and then what we'll do is after the film discussion, we'll then take a break before we connect up with Preston.
All right, Q Buster.
I'm gonna stop PWG style, Wolfie.
You're gonna stop what?
I'm gonna stop
I don't know
PWG
what that
style.
means.
The review's gonna get into the ring. I'm gonna fucking clothesline it over the top. I'm gonna hit the ropes on the other side. I'm gonna hit a fucking plancha suicida right away. I'm not even gonna
Alright.
fucking be subtle. I'm not gonna move into it. I'm not gonna grab a headlock. I'm gonna put it out there. You ready?
Well, hold on. Let me read the stats first. How about that?
No, I'm doing it before the fucking entrance.
No. No, you got to have the entrance first.
No.
You can't do a plancha without a fucking getting into the ring.
You gonna do it backstage?
Yep.
No one sees it.
Yeah.
That was a really good plancha no one saw.
All right, so we're going to talk about What Keeps You Alive. This film is rated R. It is 98 minutes long. It is a horror thriller. And it is written and directed by Colin Minihan. And it stars Hannah Emily Anderson, Brittany Allen, and Martha McIsaac, and Joey Klein. And the synopsis: majestic mountains, a still lake, and venomous betrayals engulf a female married couple attempting to celebrate their 1-year anniversary. All right, so this is going to be an interesting one because about 25 to 30 minutes into this one, this is actually like, it reminded me, not the movie, I mean, I guess some elements reminded me of Revenge,
Yes.
but it's sort of the pacing of it in terms of where things shift. And this happens very early on. So 25 or 30 minutes in, there's a major shift in tone and in like plot. So
Yeah.
this is going to be an interesting one to talk about. Before we get into it, though, Colin Minihan, the director, he directed It Stains the Sands Red, which we did last year,
Mm-hmm.
and he also did Extraterrestrial and Grave Encounters, which we did not review those. But I know, Mars, you really dug Grave Encounters, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's funny. At the time Grave Encounters was happening.
And he was
It
part
was-
of a directing duo.
Yeah, the Butcher Brothers, was that them? Or
No,
was that,
not it was something Brothers. I'll look it up. It wasn't the Butcher Brothers.
But the Butcher Brothers, I think, are the ones that did the. I'll never remember, but there's 2 movies with a family name in it. They're like vampires, I think.
The Vicious Brothers.
Vicious Brothers.
Yep.
Thank you. It was a big, like, people were loving it, but there's a bunch of weird backlash about it now. I'm not sure. I think that people are seeing it on the wrong end of found footage fatigue, maybe. But like when it was
What, Grave Encounters?
yeah, when
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
happening, people were into it.
Yeah.
And I liked extra. We didn't do Extraterrestrial for the show.
No.
I liked it.
Didn't it come out the same time as the other one, from the Blair Witch people? What was that one called? Shit, the Bigfoot one.
I think it was
Troll Hunter.
I thought they came out. No, not Troll Hunter.
No,
I thought they came out around the same time.
Exists,
Which
I like too.
Oh, exists. Yeah.
Because I somehow want to say they came out around the same time, and we ended up choosing Exists.
There is something similar about them. Both being found footage and both happening a very similar thing, but extraterrestrial takes like kind of a concept that works, but like you have to tread lightly with it, So I feel like a lot of the things that don't work in extraterrestrial, like it's not going to work no matter who made it, because or for me, maybe for some people, like it's like for me, like a movie about rats, like is maybe scary, but not like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to lose my damn full mind. If somebody's afraid of grays, like just seeing them, they might fucking flip their lid. For me, I feel the same way I feel about dolls, that I would just fucking grab one of those little dudes by their skinny neck and throw them into the woods. So
yeah.
But like I didn't know that when I watched this. Actually, I didn't know anything about it. I watched this for the first time directly after I finished last week's movie, because I was excited. Because it kind of, even though it doesn't necessarily, it was kind of billed as falling into like my favorite horror subgenre. So.
Yep. So, and if I recall correctly, I think It Stains the Sands red. I think to a degree we liked it. We thought that it had potential, but there was a few things that held it back. In terms of, mostly I think it was the things were sort of the characterization of some of the characters, like the guys who like assaulted the girl, and
where that tire came from.
Yeah, and the military. Yeah, but I there was a lot of things that I did enjoy about that movie, and especially some of the subtext I thought was well done in that.
I really liked it. I just didn't like the. It did stuff that they all do.
Yeah.
And when it didn't, it was actually jarring. I remember those were elements where MZ didn't like, and that was kind of one of the things we classed about on that show, because it was jarring, and it was disappointing when it kind of fell back on the military's bad guys.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it did so many things that they don't normally do.
So what was I going to say? Okay. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that one of the stars, Brittany Allen, was also the star of It Stains the Sands Red. She was the blonde in it. She played the short-haired girl in this.
Really?
Yeah.
She's unrecognizable.
I mean, I guess she looks way different. Obviously, she had long blonde hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess if you look at her face, it's the same. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, she looks way different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but one thing that I thought was really interesting was she was one of the producers, and she also was the composer. She scored this fucking
No
film
shit.
too. Yeah.
Because I thought the score was pretty fucking outrageous and awesome.
I agree. She had, we'll get into her performance, a tour de force performance, an amazing score, and she produced the film. Also, I mean, I guess her and the director Colin Minihan are in a relationship, so I'm sure that was sort of, a team effort to put it out. But yeah, so she definitely wore a lot of hats on this, and it's an impressive performance that we'll get into. One of the other things, I was going to mention this later, but I think it bears mentioning early on, because this film is about a lesbian couple, and I think that there's so many beautiful decisions made in this that kind of hinge on that dynamic of two women that are married, and we'll get into that. But one of the interesting things that originally it was written for a man. The role of Jackie was originally going to be a guy, and so at the South by Southwest screening, the premiere screening, the director Minihan says that he originally cast a man in the role, but lost him a month before shooting when the actor signed a year-long TV deal. He says the script doesn't appear to have been particularly tweaked because of the casting change, and it's stronger for not making an express point of its character's gender. And so, and as so often happens when a woman takes a role written for a man, that role ends up feeling unusually muscular, bold, and nuanced for a female character. And this is from a review from The Verge. So I think that it was interesting that it was originally written for a man, and it worked so well. And it's actually like I've seen a lot of people claiming it to be like a real subversion of the typical sort of
Sure.
horror film because of
Well,
that. So
it-
it's almost like Night of the Living Dead, where George Romero didn't necessarily. Once again, the what's the actor who
Dwayne Jones.
Dwayne Jones, yeah. So originally Dwayne Jones was just the best person to play the role. He wasn't the original person cast.
No.
But that made for such an interesting decision. And later on, when you look at the film, it looks like it is a commentary on race.
Right.
So I think that this accidentally ended up being a real big commentary
Right.
on
Well, it's just
gender
like
roles.
for Alien and Sigourney Weaver, because Ripley was originally
We're supposed to be a man.
written
yeah.
to be a man,
It's
Yeah.
it's funny because it
and it works out the same exact way.
it's well, they did go back and write
Oh,
like
sure,
Ripley
they-
to be a woman.
Yeah,
Like
no, they
like,
tweaked it out a little
yeah,
bit.
but it's interesting because as a writer and a songwriter, I'm one of my big hang-ups, I guess. Like I won't even call it like a trope that I use. It's like my Quentin Tarantino foot fetish. I like this, and this is something that normally, if this role was written for a woman, I think would be a certain way. You know what I mean? Like I think it would just be different.
Sure.
But the fact that
So-
they slid in this way, I love when a woman sings a cover that a man originally wrote that still keeps a distinctly masculine view. You know, and I mean, I still write songs for me a lot of the time, not all the time. The ones that I write all the way through for like Donna Matrix that she sings. So Aquaphobic is clearly from my point of view, clearly from a masculine point of view, but it's a female singing it. And I think that for me, there's nothing sexier than that.
I agree.
And very seldom are these roles not, it's either one or the other, you know what I mean? Like, but this managed to feel distinctly feminine all the way through, but not cliche and not over the top, not American Psycho 2, you know, or even like, you know, cheeky, like something like I enjoyed, like Jennifer's Body. Like this was like so spot on, and this relationship was so incredible. And even though, you know, Wolfie played the old man role here and got me in the ring and made me slow down, like, you know, I'm about to hit my high spot right now, hitting the ropes, going over. This is my favorite movie of the year so far. Maybe tied with another one. Probably not the one that you guys are thinking of, but you know, this is my favorite movie of the year so far.
It's a bold
Interesting.
statement.
Not even just that we've done, like my favorite movie that I've
Wow.
watched.
That's
so
that's
far.
huge praise right
Yeah,
there.
and we really haven't really dug into the real meat of the plot here either, because
No,
and it's going to be
well, that's
awfully
what he's saying.
difficult.
He did a plancha. He got right in the
That's
ring
true.
and did a
That's
fucking
true. He
plancha.
did. Hey, all right, man.
He's shaking his hand for doing a plancha.
Good for
What
you.
that he was able to do a
I should
plancha?
give him a high five in here.
I'll have you assholes know that my other friend Jesse lives up the street from me, and he has a nice saltwater pool. And
You have two friends named Jesse.
yeah, it's crazy,
That's
right?
weird.
Even though, and they're both from Grafton. Even though I am, you know, though I'm down to just about a mean, trim, fit 200 pounds right now. Thank you very much. It's lighter than I've been even since I was wrestling. I can still fucking hit my shit. I can still do my moonsaults and stuff like that. Thank you very much. Even though I'm fat and old, so
You
you
do a
know,
status press?
huh?
You
I
started.
never could do a stat. Well, I never tried. But yeah, so thank you. I could still do that fucking house show dive. But yeah, so there. So you don't need to shake my hand.
He's talking to
It's
you.
fucking juicy. That's good for your diet.
Hey, it keeps me cool. That's all I care about, because we know this fucking air conditioner ain't doing shit.
Water will keep you cool too. You know.
You know what keeps
Water-
me cool? Shades, man.
Water will keep you cooler.
Why aren't
actually.
you wearing them?
Because I'm indoors, man.
So yeah, this is I think a really
Alright.
great movie, and what I liked about it is I thought that a movie this year, which I felt has been kind of a flat line in a lot of cases, was going to have to be like kind of like a either like a Guardians of the Galaxy sort of thing, like something that like I like despite the fact that's not usually my jam, or like a QT movie, something that I knew I was gonna like. You know what I mean? Like something that I knew. But like I watched this and like enjoyed it and kind of put it on again right afterwards and just kind of let it play out that time.
Mhm.
Like I really 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 liked it. I am a little. My special lady friend definitely did call me on the fact when she walked in, like, and like no shit has gone down. Like she's like, "Are you watching like is this the inside of your brain in right now where there's an abandoned cabin with just good-looking redheads and short-haired girls milling around?" And I was like, maybe.
Is that why it was your favorite?
No. It didn't hurt, though. No, what's funny about it is that she came in on second watch, and I don't think it just didn't click, something about it. Because you summed it up kind of, Wolfie. It was really... Everything about their relationship was delivered as beautiful. Like, I don't think anything was really salacious.
No,
You know what I mean?
definitely
So
wasn't. It was very real.
It made everything that came later more important because
Yeah.
anybody can fuck on camera. You know, so to
Not
have
this guy.
Yeah.
Says
He
you,
can't fu-
pal.
He can't fuck anywhere.
yeah, whatever, Rocky. Yeah, where's the fucking Rocky overpass?
Rocky overhang.
Yeah, that's the only thing you've done less of than Right for Horror and come in the last 10 years.
Hey.
What?
He came twice today. Shut up.
Right, yeah. There probably was nobody even on the street, let alone in the room.
No, but he's right. There was nothing salacious, nothing gratuitous about their relationship. It was very real, very organic, and just as he said, you know, it just made everything that much more important, that much more hard hitting as the film went on.
Yeah. So
I totally agree with that.
That must have been strange for you to watch a movie with lesbians and they're dressed.
It was a frustrating hour. That's fair. I mean,
I've seen lesbians.
MC was
in
just
my
like,
day.
I didn't think lesbians wore this much clothing.
this sucks.
come on. All right. I want to talk. So get into the film a little bit. I want to talk up to like the 25-minute mark ish, somewhere around there. And so when it opens, the two are driving to this cabin. It's Jackie or Megan, I guess. It's her family's cabin. They're driving up there. They're going to spend their 1-year anniversary up there. And I think that the first 15 minutes of this were so effective. Like once again, going in, I had no idea what this movie was about. I didn't see any trailer. I didn't know anything about this. And honestly, if you guys can watch it that way, that's the way to watch this movie. Don't read anything. Don't watch anything. Go in completely blind on this one. You will thank me later. And there was just this overriding sense of dread. Like they're showing the one thing I love, Mars, and we've talked about this a few times, is that sense of spatial awareness. They showed almost every your mic, come on. They showed almost every inch of that cabin, just walking through with like a tracking shot of Jules walking through the house, exploring it,
Going upstairs.
and it was this discovery of like, oh my God, this is like perfect for me. This is what she wanted. But the great thing about it is it was letting the viewer see every inch of that place because it would come into play later on. So I just thought that was, I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of movies have done this.
Yeah.
But but when they don't do it, it lacks, especially when you're going to have a big showdown in the house or something happen in the house. Just giving the viewer that sort of tour or just awareness of where things are. And it's almost like there's a Chekhov's gun, there's a Chekhov's gun, there's a Chekhov's gun potentially. And then it created this sense of tension that you just didn't know what was going to happen next.
It also did a thing that I think a lot of films don't do that I really appreciate is forget about the fact that they jettison like any sort of use of spatial awareness at all. There was a lot of things that people entered the same way they entered multiple times,
Yeah.
went the same route that they went,
Mhm.
but it was lit different. It was at a different time of the day. They were moving in a different way. So like when somebody goes in that door and takes the stairs, like it's almost like you're taking that POV because you went there once before, but it's like a nightmare now because you saw it differently in a different context.
Yeah, absolutely.
It went from Lover's Lane literally to Blood Lake, like over the course of like a night in film wise, but like 25 minutes in like watching it.
And I noticed that, and and we're talking about the camera work. I thought the camera work in this movie was absolutely sensational.
Yeah, I agree.
Particularly through the house.
Yeah.
You have your standard
had
shots.
That the sort of tracking like handheld shot.
It was so bizarre how they did the. I don't want to say bizarre, but it just felt very odd and very unique. The way, the first time you go up the stairs with what the hell's her name? Jules. When you go up the stairs with Jules, and the tracking shot is going upstairs with her behind her, and it seems like the camera goes over the railing.
Yeah.
To go from being behind her going up the stairs to being in front of her as she's walking down the hallway.
You are so insensitive.
And I think
if you watch the making of, that cameraman actually did follow the railing and cripple himself and die.
Oh, well, who cares? Anyway, it was just such an interesting shot, so well done, and also when you get into the meat of the film, there's a couple of camera shots where you see. You see these kind of things happen in other films, but not in this context where you see shots of the ceiling and the lamps are hanging from the ceiling, and you go from lamp to lamp, and each one is shaking.
You're talking about the end?
Near the end,
yeah. I know.
So
that's
awesome.
It's a great scene.
It's such a great shot because you see these kind of things in different contexts of different films, but I've never seen it done like this before, and it just brought a different vibe to the movie.
I didn't know what you're talking about before. I thought you were talking about Revenge of the Nerds homage, lamp to lamp to lamp.
We'll just say that there was a tussle, and it was interesting because you didn't know what was happening.
Right.
And so it really ratcheted up the tension.
Yeah, you just hear what's going on. You have no clue what's going on though.
That was very cool. Yeah.
Now let's go back more to the beginning, and so there's another scene that really was a standout as far as the camera work goes, and that was the boat scene. It was the first boat scene when they were both rowing out to the sea, and it had that drone shot, sort of like it reminded me of the Endless, where that shot where it comes up, but it was still very effective. Like that all the camera work in there was just really well done. And it just really it just added to the sense of tension and dread and not knowing, because we know something's going to happen.
Yeah, we wouldn't be watching.
But it's like, where is this going to go? Like,
with the exception of Locke, we haven't been tricked in 316 episodes.
Right.
It's like no werewolf popped out of the back of that car as we thought.
That'd be awesome.
So you have no idea where this is going to go, and it just kept ratcheting up the tension. It was like. It's like a dial, like turning it up to, now we're turning up to 9, now we're turning up to 10, and now it's 11. And, I just thought that was really super interesting. And the other thing is we've all been in a situation there. So as the first 25 or so minutes unfold, we learn a little bit more about Jackie. I want to say Megan, but yeah, Jackie or Megan. She both goes by both names, but we learn a little bit more about her, and there's these seemingly sort of like benign things that they're like, oh well, I changed my name because I don't like Megan, so I used Jackie. But to Jules, that was kind of a big deal that she didn't know that, and there was a couple other little things like that, and it's just, I think we've all been in a situation like that where we've neglected to tell a partner some seemingly sort of like inconsequential bit of information that seemed trivial to us, but is big to them.
Right.
So I just thought that was interesting, and it didn't even tip me off to anything at the time. It was just like, oh well, she just forgot to tell her about this, or didn't want to broach the subject because she didn't want to mention her name.
I've
was
actually
Megan.
had that happen to me once,
Yeah.
and also had it was out with friends and found out like the name that someone used since I had known them for 4 years wasn't actually even a name. It was like a Jewish word for something, and Steve Mossberg like called her out, like right to her face. Like, so I've been in that situation where. By the way, happy birthday, Steve Mossberg. That was going to be my intro, but I forgot.
Moss
Yeah,
Bones isn't listening.
yeah. Where it's been like, wait a minute, your name is this. Yeah, I go by my middle name because I don't have this relation or whatever. Some song and dance, but. Like I had felt like, and I obviously didn't care, but once you put your mouth on somebody, I feel like you should,
Wow.
like, that stuff should be like hatched out, one way or the other. I don't want to
I'm
want to
sorry,
find
do
out.
we need to talk later on then?
Why?
I don't know.
I don't want to find out you're fucking Batman after we've been dating for a month.
Well.
Like
Well-
lead with that your name's not.
Well,
Jack.
far be from any of us to have surprised by a nom de plume or something like that.
Or something like that. Yeah.
Did someone did your job beckon you to somewhere just now?
Job beckoned his assistants.
Assistants, yeah.
I didn't write that.
No, it's him.
I know. I fucking.
So there was actually someone that I'm really close to, a friend of mine who, after about 2 years of knowing him and working with him, I realized that the name that I knew him as wasn't actually his real name. It was like a stage name. That would be Dr. Watt. It's actually not his. Can you believe his name isn't Dr. Watt? No, but yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm like, how did I not know? I've known you all these years,
Right.
So it was like this really sort of benign thing that's like, oh well, no big deal. She just didn't tell you this, but really, there was more to it than that, which I thought was like, it just sort of started to unravel a little bit. Like the plot was sort of unraveling before your eyes, and you didn't realize it until the moment where something happens.
Right.
So I thought that was really, really effective. And I will say that with comparing this to It Stains the Sands Red, because that's the last film that we watched from Colin Minihan, and it was his last film. For me, this is, and not to say, because I did mostly like It Stains the Sands Red, this is like this script is like heads and shoulders, like, well, maybe I shouldn't say that, because I actually did like a lot of It Stains the Sands Red, but this is like, I hate to use this word, Mars, but it's an elevated script. It's like,
well, I think it was, if anything, I think it was elevated delivery, because you could have made this same thing on paper crap in a million ways. You know what I mean? Like, the script was great, but like you could have got, not even a bad director, just not the right director, and made this not, this could have been a fucking Hallmark movie with the wrong direction choices. This could have been a bad 90s Fatal
Lifetime movie of the
Attraction,
week.
like rip-off movie with the right choices. Like, I don't disagree with you in what you're saying necessarily, Wolfie, but I think it might have been more in delivery than on paper.
well, I mean, I just think it was the total package. So that's
yeah.
what I'm saying. Like, without a good script, like, you don't get those good performances and everything. So, but yeah, it's, like, and I think one of the themes here could be is, it just goes to show that even after a year, you really still don't quite know the person you love. Like, it takes a lifetime to know everything. I mean, how can you possibly know everything? Like, obviously you want to know the important things, but there's always going to be things that, like, that
Everybody's
person,
got some kind of skeleton in their closet.
well, and I don't necessarily mean skeletons. I just mean, like, you can't do a fucking brain dump and tell someone everything.
Right.
Right, and you also it's a time when, like, you're most vulnerable, because they did a good job again to kind of, not to harp on them, but to go back to the I guess sex scenes. They managed to make it in a way and edit it in a way that really felt like that we're in a year in love, like really safe and really passionate and really together and really symbiotic, like which I think was another thing that made it work. But like, that year, if the relationship goes good, and I'm sure everybody's had one of these, or if it was eventful, I've had relationships that a year long that are just as important to me as a human and an artist as a relationship that I had for 20. I mean, a lot of your current favorite Deadite songs are about a woman that I dated for a year. So, but also there are relationships that went that long where I could have either got married or, you don't really remember too much about them because it's a weird time. It's a weird, everybody, I love you, everything's great, it's all cushy and it's good. And
Well, I mean, yes, they were a year married, but did they say how long they were dating beforehand?
I mean,
I don't think they did say.
they
but
did, but I got the impression it wasn't very long.
So that's it's an old joke. I had a boss that was gay, and she had a joke. It was basically, I'm sure it's an old joke in that community, but what do lesbians bring on the second date? A U-Haul. It was very quick. Thank you. I didn't write it. I didn't steal that one either, Ari. Someone told it, and I'm reiterating.
No, we know
the
you
joke.
didn't write it. That's
You're a
funny.
little defensive, but continue.
No, it's very good. Now, what number is that?
You didn't have the wherewithal to not say it, but I appreciate that you didn't write
come
it.
on, hush. No, I mean, I gotta say, but I'm really glad you guys enjoy it the way you do.
Huh?
Thank you.
I am. I'm
We
very
appreciate
happy.
that.
I was talking to Mars and Johnny.
You didn't like this? Is that what you're
I
saying?
don't know. I definitely the pop. And I'm not sure if I can communicate what I didn't like
The
about
pop, the pop that Mars got when he did his plancha.
it. I love the plancha. That was very nice.
Thank you.
But no, when the Charles Durning point in the first part, that came out of nowhere, and I was like, what the fuck? And I even kind of I also too did not know anything about it. Just saw the poster art, and watched it. I almost thought there might be some supernatural elements involved.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what we're talking about. You just didn't know, and
Yeah.
and one thing I did want to sorry to cut you off, Raven. I'll let you continue in just a sec. But one of the other things I was about to mention was how let's see, I think I had a note about it. I just want to find I think it really set the woods and the house became like the third character in this.
Right.
And it did such a good job of initially making the woods in the house feel like the antagonist almost.
In the lake.
And yeah, that's what I mean, the whole thing. And then sort of towards the end, it was more of like sanctuary.
Right.
It was interesting how it changed the feel, of the movie changed. And,
Right.
Without giving much away, I just thought that was a really brilliant
Well, it's
stroke.
great how they showed how hard it was for her to get to civilization via the lake too, which is something
Sure,
that
sure.
in a lot of movies like this, you're like, just hop in that fucking boat. But that's not, really in a lot of cases a viable. I couldn't row a boat. Like at the end of the day,
Well, and they showed how difficult it
Yeah.
was too, and that's what I loved. Like this was a really physically demanding role for Brittany Allen.
Oh, without
Well,
a
actually
doubt.
for both, but especially for Brittany Allen because she was running, she was rowing, and then all the other stuff that happens, which I don't know if we're going to talk about or not.
Yeah, it's tough.
This was an insanely physical role.
Yeah, and she also put that over because you know that you don't make movies in order generally, and whatever else. I didn't feel like there was a point where she got spry again. You know what I mean? She kept she was conscious of her bumps. I'm curious to see where Drew was going though.
Yeah,
if he
go.
wasn't-
Sorry. Go ahead, Rib Shadow.
Like I said, there were things that technically were very well done in this. But really, for me, after wondering what was really happening after the incident, I didn't like where it ended up, and that's what bothered me.
It's unfortunate I can't ask more why you feel that way.
And I know, so I don't know how this plays
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I get the elements of their environment. I get the elements of what was happening and what a certain character might be going through psychologically. I still was very frustrated as a viewer. I don't know what I'd do in that situation, but it was just frustrating me to watch it, and that took me.
Here's
I think
what's
I know what
interesting
you
though,
mean.
Raven Shadow, and I had this argument about bullying the other day, because people's whole thing is why don't you just stand up for yourself? Why don't you do
Okay.
that? not everybody is like that. Not everybody is like there. There is fight or flight is a real thing, but there's also a gray area in the middle where people are too afraid to do anything. And there's also nuances of how can I word this diplomatically, of almost the old haunted house thing in a way. Like she has to dig up the bones, right? She needs some sort of explanation, so she's sort of bound there from that sort of thing. Like, because this is like, Tuesday's brunch, Wednesday I'm in hell. So like she doesn't really have like, a point of reference, but like you actually, unlike something that was really, and I love this movie, this will be another film in my top 5, but unlike something that Revenge, that it was really almost dumb and on the nose and in your face, and like Stan Lee wrote it, obvious. You got to, people will 99% of the time, with the human body and the human mind and the human spirit is a fucking phenomenal machine, and people will eventually, it adapts, and you will grow that fight. In a lot of cases, you will grow that fight instinct, and as opposed to a superhero origin where a beer can gets burnt on her and like she gets like an emblem or whatever else, you actually see her grow that, because she does what she was gonna do. She flight. And she stopped.
Oh, fight or flight.
Yeah, and because she had business.
Is that what you're talking about, Raven Shadow? Was there something that seemed like a stupid decision for someone?
Pretty much. I mean, they were. I think you guys know where I'm kind of talking about.
Yeah, I think so. So
the boat scene.
Think about when she was looking at the bear, the bear head on the wall.
Yes, which comes.
And the things that fell out, right? I think that because that's what sort of spurned the decision, I think, right? Or am I placing things out of order here? But
no, you got it. You got it.
But all the things that came out of that, what did that say to you? When like that gave her
the spark.
This is a cycle.
Yeah.
Someone has to stop the cycle, right?
She's not the only one. She's not the only one.
Yes.
No one's gotten away. I talked into a sort of.
Jesus.
No one. No one's gotten away. So she had to do. But the two scenes that I think you were talking about in particular, I think that the lake scene, I think we're movie brainwashed.
Which one?
Like, are you talking about when there's 2 boats in play?
Yes, when they
I love that scene.
I did too. Like,
I loved it.
Yeah.
They already established that the antagonist is a bad shot.
Oh, I was talking about when they would.
No, she's a good shot.
Well, it took not necessarily though. Like, I think Ares would take, she was a good shot, as they say in the business, a fucking third shot bullseye. Like, because if you remember when they were shooting bottles, she missed them a whole bunch of times before she hit it.
Yeah.
She had the capability, which was brilliant because it made it scary. You knew she could hit the target, but she wasn't reliable to hit the target every time.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, if you haven't figured it out, stop listening to this if you don't want to get spoiled. Cause
No. We haven't spoiled anything yet.
But I wonder.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
We haven't named names. We haven't talked
I wonder
about
if
anything
you're.
that happens.
This is going to sound more derogatory than I mean it, but like
Thank
movie brainwashed in the sense where like I think that like I feel like that scene, at least the elements I think you're talking about, played out not only realistically, like they showed in a prior scene that that's not something. She's not a boat rower in her other life, like where that other girl grew up with there. Mm-hmm. So she could have done laps around her all day long.
Actually, I was talking about the scene when after something was being dealt with.
I don't know that.
Yeah, we'll have to.
All right, fair.
Yeah.
This is going to be probably not going to be super interesting.
I'm interested though.
Yeah,
but once again, it's hard to convey
right
without it. I mean, maybe you're interested in what could it be? Check it out.
Well, what's funny about it is that we might be assholes too, because even though I saw enough of the trailer to send it to Wolfie and make sure we were doing it, and we were actually supposed to do it 2 weeks ago, but either Puppet Master or Class Summer of '84 came out and pushed it back a little. I didn't watch it enough or remember at least enough to like have anything spoiled from it. So you know, it was definitely like from the you know, it definitely shocked me in a way that I would like it to shock anyone that saw it for the first time. But I don't remember if anybody that's been following or waiting for this already knows what we're drudging around to try to not spoil for anybody who doesn't. So I could see it being, you know, very frustrating if we're assholes. But I think we're all, to a degree, very passionate about the experience that we had and trying to help people recreate it if they didn't
and
know
that's
anything.
why, like, I don't even want to do a spoiler section because I really think it would do a disservice to this movie. And even if somebody is on the fence and then here's the spoiler section and then is like, oh, I want to go watch it now, like, this movie will not have the kind of effect. So we'll continue to dance around it. I did want to mention, I won't mention who, but there's some makeup, there's some injuries, and the makeup is really well done.
Yeah.
In this to make it look very realistic as if those injuries were legit, which I thought was awesome. And there's a scene where that person is fixing their injuries in the house.
Oh, yeah.
Was really well executed.
Yeah.
Like, that was a really intense scene.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of Foley sounds.
I loved it.
That really helped. There's a lot of stuff that you don't see, but it's what you
You're
it's
so
what
right.
you don't see, and it's the sounds. It's
Well,
the Foley that really sold it. And
It's
the
cool
screaming.
too because out of
Sold it
context,
very well.
or in context maybe, I don't even know how to word it. I don't like that scene because it was the most on the nose of the transformative element of her arc.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I mean, because again, like I mean, maybe she was an LPN, but like, you know, not everybody knows how to fix them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, so like
that's just what I assume.
but that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
In the context of that, she's turning into this different thing, like she's going through a transformation. But it was a fucking phenomenal scene in the context of the film. Like I'm aware enough to pick it out that I felt like that's a little too on the nose for where this is, especially on the second time I watched it. But I feel like it's really a great scene. It's really like I think that this is like I feel very similar to this that I feel about Mickey Keating's movies leading up to Psychopaths. Like, I felt like, I like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's a little something.
There's something maybe, missing.
But in between Carnage Park and Psychopaths, like, I feel like all right, like, in It Paints the Sands Red, and this sounds so condescending because this guy's a professional director and I'm just a professional asshole. But, you know, from a film fan and somebody who really roots for independent film and really, like, kind of grasp onto things, hence my, you know, almost 20-year relationship with being a Mike Mendez fan. You know, I can sometimes see potential, and I love things, and I love parts of things, and can just enjoy things for what they are. But I see that you know, I saw that, like, oh, wow, I'm really excited. And I believe that we said that with Paints the Sands Red.
Stains the Sands
Red. I can't wait to see what he does next. I would have never, if you had given me every film, if you had given me 5 films and that was one of them, I never would have put together that it was the same director, because I've been trying to kind of, it's bad podcasting, but because the world has turned so ugly on me, I've kind of delivered a policy of the less I know about the people who make the art I like, the happier I am.
Yep.
So I kind of went in, you know, again, this literally almost ran right into watching what I was watching last. Like, I was like, oh, I can watch this, you know, this is here now. So, you know, I knew nothing about it. Who made it? I never would have guessed in a million years. This is I thought that actress' performance was great in the last movie too, but this is another level of nuance here, and it's a different movie, but she had a lot of the whole movie hung on her last time. So, you know, this is like somebody who I'm gonna have my eye on because she could do some fucking great stuff. She's a great.
You're talking
actress.
about Brittany Allen.
Yes,
she's actually won an Emmy. She was on One Day to Live or one of those soaps she won an Emmy
Yeah,
for.
I
Like,
don't know.
One
One
day at a
life to
time.
live.
Yeah.
One day at a time, whatever. Yeah,
One day at a time. You
Snyder.
asshole.
one Day to Live might be
Yeah.
a better. Maybe I'd watch that
That's
one.
a better title. Make
Yeah.
it
Yeah, she was with Schneider at the time.
Yeah,
Don't
one-
you remember?
Schneider man.
Schneider
Man.
One Day to Live. That's what was on Monster Zero's last medical examination. But right under in yellow highlight, should have died Thursday.
Yeah.
But
I beat the odds,
Yeah.
man. What can I say?
it's not all you beat. But the
I call my dick odds.
yeah, which isn't a pun. It's just weird. Professor X showed up one time and tried to make his dick join the X-Men in the Grant Morrison era.
Yes. You could be king of the Morlocks.
Yeah, lumpy.
I think the same thing. I actually made
Clumpy X.
I actually made the note that that Colin Minihan now has jumped to like the top of my list of people who I'm really anticipating their film. Like he went from someone who, oh, that would be cool, I'd check out his films, to now, yes, I'm like eagerly anticipating his next film.
Yeah, I can't fucking wait. Yeah.
So, and it just was, everything was just right with this for me. He just nailed pretty much everything, and there was some nice little sort of not I guess it's not subtext. Well, it sort of is, but the idea about the raven and the bald eagle,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which that is, I guess, in a way foreshadowing.
Right.
Which I thought that even something like that was really interesting. And there was also just a lot of the camera work was really effective. There's another tracking shot from down. This is the one we talked about already, from downstairs when there's a fight upstairs.
Mhm.
That was really super effective. The other thing, it's so hard to talk about this without. Oh, actually, one other scene I wanted to mention was that blacklight scene was fucking gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Granted, I don't think it works that way. I don't think blood shows up like that, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, I don't give a fuck, because that was a beautiful scene.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, like it just.
That's how it shows up when Ice-T does it.
No, I think that happens when you for forensics, when they're looking for sperm.
Yeah. MZ would know.
My room would shine brighter than a Walmart.
You would know. You gonna take a selfie in it?
Let's hope not.
And there's another line earlier in the film. Well, not actually. Like I think it's about midway through, where one of the characters says it's nature, not nurture, which demonstrates that a character is just evil.
Right.
We don't, like, there's no significant, that we know of, there's no significant trauma, there's no PTSD that we're aware of. It's just an evil fucking person.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what made the best, it's what made Halloween, the original one, so fucking brilliant, because
Yeah.
as much as I enjoy the Rob Zombie one, and I think people are dumbing that down a little bit, in the sense where I don't think his bad life is what turned him into what he was. I think I think it didn't matter either way. Like, I think if you look at the alternate reality, he turned out bad, even though he lived in a nice house in the suburbs, and everybody liked him and loved him. Just evil. What lurks behind those eyes was evil, pure evil. And I think that's like fucking incredible. You know what I mean? That's great. And there's no out in this, like in American Psycho or whatever, where you get the impression that there's a degree of hyperbole or fantasy to it. Like, this is like institutionalized evil, like where you saw in that scene you were talking about, Wolfie, that this is her fucking gig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And and I also love how subtle, like, the title actually plays a big part in the movie of like what it's about. When it just is seemingly sort of just a normal title, actually plays kind of a big role in the film, which I thought was really interesting.
And I you know what I liked? I liked the idea, for the antagonist, the reason why this is going on. It's so simple.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's not complex. It's very, very simple, very, very, to a certain degree, understandable. It's certainly something that we see in this world all the time.
I'm not quite sure I understand.
I'll tell you about
Are
it.
you
when we
talk?
get to
If I'm jumping on what you're jumping on, awesome. If not, we could talk off. But I think what was the best about this movie is, from a personal experience that we had, and maybe a lot of people did if they follow us, is that there is an interesting through line from the film we watched last week to this film, and it's how well do you really know anybody?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I mean? I love. You know, I love that I got to experience that. I got to, you know, for me it was in a 3 hour, almost 4 hour like experience.
Well, you watched it back to back, right? Yeah.
But like, I think that was just so interesting to me that that's something that's in the zeitgeist of the world right now, that we are afraid of each other again. That we're like, you know what I mean? That's almost like the what's his name made Hostel. That was that was a film about xenophobia. But now we're kind of come back to the old, we don't know who our neighbors are. We don't know who our friends are. We don't know who the people across the lake are.
Well, right.
You know,
and
like,
it's because you can portray yourself as anyone
right
in this day and age
and
get away with it for a while.
And it's gone full circle because there was a slight period where social media and the internet shone a light on everybody, but it didn't take people. If it took predators and monsters a week to monetize MySpace, Facebook, and whatever, like, I would be surprised. You know what I mean? They like just started to use that to enhance their villainy, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. And I think that's just such a cool thing. Like, you know, like, I'm obsessed with the fact that through every house in Worcester, Raven Shadow lives in a house that, like, I had slept in before at one point. Yeah. And, like, how different that is, that this very, you know, the house looks exactly the same as when you drive by, when there was, like, this, you know, Irish Catholic, really nice family, and now this fucking maniac lives in that house. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and you'd never fucking know. You never know. You know, like,
some shit going down in there, I'll tell you that much.
KMC always talks about how before she knew who any of us but Wolfie was, she used to look out her best friend's window and see me, Wolfie, and Psycho Patrick carrying mannequin parts into her neighbor's house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the fuck's going on in that house? And that's like
very normal.
Yeah, that's neat. But, you know, that's neat when it's the burbs, but it's fucking more terrifying when, like, you know, it's that thing you hear. Slagoff drove by a house where, like, a small child was murdered, and like, you know, you would never, like, just even seeing that fucking, in that picture, in that news footage, you would never guess in 100 years that was like a fucking house of horror. Right. Like, so.
It's a house of horrors.
I knew it. I wasn't sure it was going to come from you, but I knew it. But you know what I mean? And that's what's fucking fascinating about me. And I'd like to think that I would have picked up if we watched these movies 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 months apart. But, like, I'm interested to see how much more of that is leaking into because, like, I'm as guilty as ever. I wanted to fucking yell at dummies who were, I wanted to yell at people who were burning sneakers, and I didn't agree. You know what I mean? But, like, the reality is, like, you know, we all have to try to be a little more accepting, but we're not. So that's where our horror is coming from, and it's fucking great. I said the only good thing that was going to come out of this, and everybody said I was an asshole, and it's not fucking worth it. But I said the only good thing that was going to come out of this was fucking great art, because that's what's happened. That's what happened, and that's what's happening. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And so we got to start to wrap this up, because we got to do the verdict and connect it with Preston in just a moment. But one of the last things I wanted to bring up, and I can't really talk about the whole point the way I'd like to, but what I will say is that the role of the antagonist is it in this movie, it really subverts a lot of how it actually goes down, and it has a lot to do with I'm actually not going to say. I'm not going to say because it is. Turn your mic on.
Hello?
There you go.
I think I need a new mic.
No, you just need to not turn that one off.
Well, I
Yeah,
turn
you
it.
should talk on it.
I turn it down when I'm holding it though. Like that's what's weird.
doing
Like, well, that's what it is. Sometimes I turn it off if I need to take a drink or get suffocated.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It won't pick anything up unless you're doing it right in front of the mic. It's not going to pick it up.
You never know.
That's why. That's
Bill
the way
by
I
Force
have it
yells
set up.
at Bill by Force yells at me for everything.
No,
He
no,
hears
no.
it all.
He doesn't listen.
He does. He listens.
So I just thought that was really interesting, and it really kept the film fresh because you didn't fucking know what was going to happen
Nope.
next because you haven't been in many situations where you're watching a movie like this. And that's what I thought was so brilliant was the first 15 to 20 minutes. It really creates this sense of tension and dread, and you don't know who or what the antagonist is. When the antagonist kind of reveals themselves or itself, then it really keeps you guessing because you don't know where it's going to go,
Well,
and you don't know what that person's going to do next.
And that's another reason why I think the camera work and the editing in this movie was so top notch. Because usually, when they're, when the film is trying to keep it low key as who the antagonist is, and I noticed this, sometimes the camera will linger on them for maybe an extra second, maybe an extra second and a half, and with me, that kind of tips me off as to thinking, okay, this is either going to be the antagonist or a very strong red herring. And this movie didn't do any of that, and it was just wonderfully executed.
All right, so I think we need to head to the verdict on this one because we're running a little short on time. Aries, I'm assuming you didn't like this because you didn't say a damn fucking thing.
He's saving his
well,
words, I
you
think.
know what? I wanted to talk because I was called out before the show about not talking. Oh. Yeah, but you know what? I was actually sitting back and paying attention to what was happening in the room, and I realized that Mars bullies everyone during the reviews. He just talks over everyone.
See?
I'm passionate.
No,
goes
you're a
down.
fucking bully.
I don't think he did it that much.
I
This
don't think
No,
this
he
week.
did. He did. I sat back and watched.
He didn't talk over me.
He tried to.
Yeah,
Well,
because you're in cahoots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
'cause you'll shut-
also I don't care because I was here first. So I was. It used to be.
old are you?
Actually, Raven Shadow was here first tonight.
Oh,
true.
no.
So
You were here first.
No,
I
yeah,
was
I was.
here first.
Yeah,
Go change your Pampers, okay?
no,
You were here first.
He wants you to change him.
yeah, no. It was the.
You're his dad, right?
It was the
Got matching
it was the
beards.
Mars and Wolfie show, and then it became the
It was all of us. All
and
right.
then it became
Yeah.
and then it
Fucking
became the Mars
revisionist
the
history.
Mars Wolfie and his crazy friend show.
It was everyone, and because we didn't have a fucking means to have everyone in the studio. When we did, everyone was there.
Your documentary, okay?
No.
Your biography
No,
is
here's
going
what
to have
happened.
full.
We're not,
it's gonna
we're
be,
not doing this.
It was me and Wolfie,
We
and
have an
then I
interview.
asked Raven Shadow to do comic stuff, and you to do movie stuff on the phone. I never fucking wanted to hang out with you guys. That wasn't my
I'm
choice.
sorry to do that right now. I apologize.
Yeah, and fuck you. I'm just passionate.
me.
No, I just did. No, fuck you. Because
All
you're just,
right, it is verdict time. We're going to talk
just
about
out
whether
to
this
get
film
me.
is a trick or a treat, and then give you any final thoughts we may have. Raven Shadow,
Sorry. Yeah.
come on, do it.
Nope. Okay.
Temper treat.
All right, Aries,
Right?
It was a treat.
MZ.
You know, if Colin Minihan and Brittany Allen keep together, they could be the next Lucky McGee and Angela Bettis. At this rate, they're coming on strong.
It could be better, I think. Honestly,
you know what? I think you might be right because this movie was
this is.
fantastic.
I hate to say, I know Mars might get mad at me, but I think this is better than me.
It's running neck and neck. You know, I think May is a fucking awesome flick. This is certainly an awesome flick. Highly recommended. This is a definitive treat.
Marsman.
No.
All right. Well, he did his plancha coming into the ring, so we know what he thinks.
I
anyway,
hate all
so.
of you except Wolfie, and I hope you all
Why?
die.
This is so stupid. I was here first, and you got mad because you said that, and we disputed it.
Well, no, it's true. I remember what happened.
And who was on episode 0?
You and I.
So is MZ and I.
Yeah.
No, you weren't.
Yeah.
It was the
You
first episode 1 you were on.
No, 0.
No, 0.
No, I
Go
think
back and listen.
It was just 45 minutes of me and Wolfie talking about.
It was like over an hour.
Because episode 1 was the one where you did the Bruce Campbell thing.
Episode 2 was the Bruce Campbell one.
Go back to 0.
All right, this for me was a big time treat.
Yeah.
I think this is a fucking tour de force. This film, this film's
But
so
regardless,
much
I didn't
more
want you there,
rewarding
so it didn't matter.
If you go in, if you go in
We're here for Johnny.
knowing nothing. I was on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen next. The performances are so physically demanding and very nuanced. And this film's success really hinged on the acting, and they fucking knocked it out of the park. I think we were pretty split about what Stains the Sands read at times, but this film is much more focused, is a much more focused artistic vision, and Colin Minihan has jumped way up on my list of directors whose films I'm anticipating, like I said earlier. So, big time treat, and I really love this film. I think everyone should go watch this film and go in cold. You know, don't watch any trailers, don't read anything about it. Just go and just watch the fucking movie. It's on VOD. Apparently it's not on Amazon, but it's pretty much everywhere else. You can actually rent it on YouTube, get it on iTunes. It's basically on every single VOD.
Yeah. Give them your money. This is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, I'm looking. I don't know if our guest is ready. Let's do we'll do a break, and then we'll come back and hopefully we'll connect up with Preston. But next week, actually, let me talk about what we're doing next week. We're going to do a film that just hit VOD, I believe, on the 1st of September, or maybe it was the 30th of August. I don't remember, but it just hit, and it's a film called Boarding School.
Hey, all right.
It's probably not what you guys think.
Damn it.
I saw Tony Timpone talking it up online. I guess he had a free screening for it in New York City. But it's the synopsis. A young boy becomes fascinated with the persona of his dead grandmother and is sent to an isolated boarding school for misfits run by a mysterious headmaster and his wife.
Oh, see, I want to see that.
So that's what we're going to see.
Fucking good to have things in common then.
Yeah, boarding school next week. So if you guys want to check it out, it's on VOD. I don't know if hopefully it's on Amazon. I think it's on all of them. And it's directed by Boaz Yakin, who did Fresh was his first film, I believe. And he also did Remember the Titans. Interesting.
That's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting films that he
Yeah,
has.
Remember the Titans is pretty good, actually.
Yeah. He did Uptown Girls. He hasn't done anything last few years. He's only done a couple things. So we're going to be checking out Boarding School next week, and you guys should check out What Keeps You Alive. If anyone does check it out during the week and you have some thoughts about it, obviously you can send them in to us. Let us know what you think.
Put some time aside, Raven Shadow. It's almost a 2-hour movie.
Oh, fuck. We've had some good running times lately. I don't like this.
You don't like it?
Nah.
All right, well, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in. Well, this is Raven Shadow's break, but we don't have time for your whole spiel. So, just say the thing you say.
Strap on.
Thank you.
Oh, thank God. You just asked me.
Do you love a scary story? Do you love to dance? The Big Scary Monster Haunts at Midnight is a collection of dark songs about sex, love, death, revenge, and the end of the world. Brought to you by the world's greatest monster hunting electroshock band, the Deadites.
I'm Alex West.
And I'm Andrea Subasati, and we're from the Faculty of Horror podcast.
And you're listening to Trick or Treat Radio.
I'm Ruby Burble.
What's up, y'all? It's me, the Yeti, telling all the ladies that they couldn't be more fine and that we should knock those boots like Frankenstein. When I want to get my nerd on, I go to Facebook and I go to the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group. That's the place where I get to talk about all the hip new horror movies, all the cool comics.
What comics?
RPGs, video games, you name it, we're talking about shit on there. And you could not be any cooler if you were the coolest kid in school. Be the first kid on your block to swing their cock over at the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search for Trick or Treat Radio, ask to join, and it's like Nerd Nirvana, baby, without the shotgun blast. This is the Yeti, signing out. See you at the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group.
Follow us on Twitter at The Deadites, TheDeadites.com, and TrickOrTreatRadio.com.
Thank you guys for having me on. It's a blast. You guys are awesome.
Thank you so much.
And, Trick or Treat Radio, man. That's where it's at. That's the new Fangoria Radio is Trick or Treat Radio.
Don't say that.
You really put us under.
It's like swearing in church. I
You
don't
just jinxed us.
Yeah. you put a lot on our shoulders just now.
Well, we can strive for
You
greatness.
guys are awesome.
Yeah,
you really
just
are. You got
say
a
that again
great show.
slowly.
All right, we're back on Trick or Treat Radio.
Right.
Isn't that right, MZ?
That is right.
All right, so we are going to be joined in just a second by Preston Fassel. So let's get everyone here in the room. I think some people we're taking some breaks real quick. But,
Here comes Aries.
there's Aries. Yep. All right, so
Down. All right.
well, let's get everything all set here. Let's connect up with Preston. So now we are joined by author, writer, and I believe he's even acted in some stuff. And his new book, Our Lady of the Inferno, is going to be the very first release on Fangoria Presents, which is very exciting. And we're now joined by author Preston Fassel.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing great, Preston. Thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I got to get this out of the way first. You just went and saw Carrie in 35mm. How the hell was that?
Oh, my God. Being somebody in the horror realm, something that I get asked is, what is your favorite horror movie?
Right.
And I've only ever been able to narrow it down to 5 movies. And I've told people I've got to cheat. I can't tell you a favorite. I can tell you my 5 favorites. And I hadn't seen Carrie in a couple of years, and I had never seen it on the big screen, and I'd certainly never seen it in 35mm. And now, I mean, maybe this is just knee-jerk, just getting home from the theater, but I think it's now a top 6.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So now your top 5 is a top 6.
Yeah.
Oh, now how was the print?
Oh, it was beautiful. I think I saw one scratch in it at the very beginning of the print while they're still on the volleyball court, and while the camera is still zooming down on them. There was a very fine scratch towards the left of the screen, but after that it was pristine.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Oh, that's amazing.
I want to go see Carrie, Johnny.
Did it happen to be at an Alamo down there?
It was.
Yeah,
nice.
We don't have any Alamo up near us, which is unfortunate. But
we only have the basement.
Yeah, we didn't get the Alamo, but no, it's they always seem to have the coolest screenings, and yeah, that's really cool. We do have some great theaters up here for sure, but I don't believe Carrie has played in 35 millimeter.
No.
So that's really awesome. Well, we could probably get a little bit more into that. I wanted to kind of lead off with that because I know you literally just got out of the theater a few minutes ago, so I wanted to lead off with that. But let's talk about your book now. Coming out, I believe, is September 11th. Is that the release date, Preston?
It is September 11th.
Yep.
The book hits the shelves and pre-orders go out.
Excellent. So Preston's book, Our Lady of the Inferno, is going to be released on September 11th. So if you guys want to, you can get a physical or digital copy. Is that correct, Preston?
Yeah, on Amazon.com. I do not know if the digital copy is up for pre-order yet, but the paperback is currently available for pre-order.
Now, I have a feeling a lot of our listeners are going to be really interested in this book, so I'm hoping maybe if you could give like a real high-level sort of elevator pitch about it, because I think that it's going to appeal to a lot of people out there, especially some people in this room who didn't get a chance to take a look at it. So if you give us a little example, what can people expect from Our Lady of the Inferno?
If I'm giving like the quick blow-by-blow, you've got kung fu genius hookers, you've got nerds with shotguns, you've got female executive serial killers, you've got valley girls from hell, all taking place against the backdrop of 1983 Times Square, pre-Giuliani days when you could feel the hypodermic needles crunching beneath your feet and smell the bodily fluids wafting through the air in the dying days of the Vice District of old Manhattan.
This sounds right up Frank Henenlotter's alley.
Yeah.
Or David Cronenberg.
I saw you getting real excited, MZ. I know you're a big fan of 42nd Street.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The old school films.
Oh yeah, the old 42nd Street slime and grime.
Yep.
Theaters of 42nd Street, man. Nothing like it.
Yeah, and I got a chance. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to read the entire book, but I was able to kind of peruse through, and I read, sort of the first several pages, and especially the prologue. I thought was really set a nice tone, and it really gives you that feel of that like grimy, sleazy 42nd Street, which I thought was really good, Preston.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I got through the first chapter myself.
Oh, you did? Oh, good. I'm glad you got a chance to read. Okay, awesome.
I got to read the first chapter. I'm looking forward to reading more.
Awesome. So we did. A couple of us were able to kind of peruse through, and I'm really looking forward to checking it out. And so, how did this all come about? Where did you get the inspiration to do Our Lady of the Inferno?
This is really a story that's got its roots back in a town called Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, where I went to high school.
Okay.
And the time I was living there, it was right on the cusp of becoming a metropolis. Today, it's the fourth largest city in the state, but back then it was in this really transitory period where they had just put the highway through, and there was still an idea there of, there's a main street, and kids would go hang out behind a tobacco stand on the side of the highway, and that was considered a viable hangout spot.
Yeah.
And it was not an unusual thing for Friday nights. If you didn't have anything else to do, it wasn't really there wasn't really a social stigma against it, that you would go to Hollywood Video, or you'd go to one of the local video rental stores and you'd rent movies, and you'd either watch them with your friends or you'd sit home and you'd watch movies on a Friday night and give yourself a little private movie marathon.
Absolutely.
And that's how I spent many of Friday nights in high school. And the Hollywood Video that we had this thing called the cult section, and it really seemed to be the section of the store where they threw the movies that the manager of that store had no idea what the hell to do with. And I would go and I'd rent all these movies there because I want to know, well, what are these things? And that's where I first saw stuff like Blue Velvet and Eating Raoul and The Cars That Ate Paris. And one of the movies that I rented was this thing called Poor Pretty Eddie. Now, I got it there under an alternate version called Heartbreak Motel. And on the cover of the box is Shelley Winters wearing a wedding veil and a dead body in a yellow Elvis suit. And I just see this thing, and it's like, what the hell is this? And I rent it, and I watch it, and I think to myself after I'm done watching it, what the hell did I just see?
Yeah.
And so I went and I did some research on it, and I back then I don't think I was using Google yet. It was probably Altavista. I Altavisted it. And I come across this book called Sleazoid Express, written by a couple. Yeah, okay, you know what I'm talking about. Bill Landis and Michelle Clifford, and it is this treatise / walking tour / in memoriam / history of 42nd Street. And I just became enthralled with it. And in addition to renting these movies from the cult section, I was also renting the 80s horror favorites. The 80s for me in high school was this very safe-feeling era. Part of that was probably because Broken Arrow in the early 2000s was still the 80s. Part of it was probably because I was part of that 9/11 generation. 9/11 was my 16th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And, I mean, I went to high school with kids who were like, I'm going to graduate and I'm going to go fight the Taliban. And thankfully they came back, the ones that I knew. But, my adolescence was shattered by the war on terror, this post-9/11 world. And so the 1980s was, in comparison, the safe, happy-go-lucky, pastel-tinted new wave time. And I fell in love with the horror films of that era. And watching these grindhouse films and watching these horror films in my bedroom on Friday nights, I think to myself, what would be the story that I would want to tell if I had an opportunity to make one of these movies? What would be my neon-soaked new wave nightmare? And out of those adolescent dreams and imaginings came Our Lady of the Inferno.
Yeah, and I think you're speaking directly to us because that's sort of when we grew up, is the VHS era. So when you talk about that, that's definitely our wheelhouse. We loved all that stuff, and I know MZ especially was really into the 42nd Street stuff. And obviously, when you mentioned Sleazoid Express, he knew exactly what you were talking about.
I have that book as well. Thumbed through it many times.
Yes.
Oh, it was. Yeah, that was invaluable writing the book. A great deal of historical research went into this because I wanted anybody who read this book to be able to feel like they were there when this was happening. And Sleazoid Express was just invaluable. I mean, Bill Landis's recollections of the Deuce were just, I drew very heavily on them for the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so obviously, this is... It sounds like something like this has been kind of kicking around in your head for a while. What was the impetus for you to write this? Because obviously you had written this prior to Fangoria, sort of, the Fangoria coming back. So is this something that you had been working on for a while, or did you all of a sudden just get the inspiration like, screw it, I'm going to write my fucking book?
I wrote this back in 2014. Mm-hmm. I wrote it over a period from June of 2014 to November of 2014. And the story is bifurcated. Part of the story is about the serial killer, Nicolette, and part of the story is about our heroine, Ginny.
Yep.
And I had the idea for Nicolette for a while. And the serial killer character I had been developing for a while. And I was never able to come up with a suitable protagonist to go up against her. And before I came on board with Fangoria, I wrote for Rue Morgue for just under 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And I was covering a horror convention for Rue Morgue back in 2014. And I had the opportunity to meet the Soska sisters, who had directed American Mary. I had just seen that recently. and we're just shooting the shit. And I can't remember how this comes up, but one of them, somehow it came up that my family's Polish. And one of them says to me, "Oh, your family's Polish, our family's Hungarian. What are your favorite Polish swear words?" My favorite swear word in Hungarian is kurva. It means whore. And this gives you some insight into the way that my mind works, that my very first response to that, thinking to myself, is, oh, you need to write a story about a character, and her last name is Kurva, and she's a prostitute. Mm-hmm. And it was just like this floodgate breaking open. And throughout my time in college, I had tried to get some story off the ground about 42nd Street and about Manhattan in the bad old days of the late 70s and early 80s. And I ended up writing this thing. I've still got it sitting on my computer somewhere. And it's about 250,000 words long. It's the Brothers Karamazov of grindhouse horror epics. And at 250,000 words, not a damn thing happened in this. And I spent years writing this thing and watching it grow bigger and nothing happening. And just this tremendous amount of research had gone into it. And it just sat there, and I'd abandoned it probably about a year before this. And the Nicolette character, the serial killer character that I'd been developing, she was never necessarily tied to 42nd Street. I just had this concept for this character. And in that moment, it was just like this cosmic coalescence of all these different things. It's like you've got this girl, and her name is Kurva, and she's a prostitute. And 42nd Street had this very vibrant prostitution culture. And serial killers often prey on sex workers. And you know all this stuff about 42nd Street, and everything just came together.
Yeah.
And by the time I walked out of that convention that weekend, I had the broad strokes of the story.
It's interesting how it all came about, like just sort of, a bit of kind of a benign conversation, and it just sort of all led to everything sort of coming together for you. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, the book, The Godfather, I've never been a fan of the book. I think that's one of those rare instances where the film is infinitely better, but there's always been this one passage that I remembered in the book where Michael Corleone meets his first wife, the one who dies in the car bomb in Sicily. And he sees her, and he just knows he's going to marry her. And the Sicilians tell him, "You got hit by the thunderbolt." And it was exactly like that. That was my thunderbolt moments. Just everything came together, and I knew that this was going to be it.
Yeah, that's great to just have that sort of bout of inspiration. And so I'm just kind of looking here at some of the reception to it, and actually one of our friends, Izzy Lee, writes for a Diabolique magazine, and
Izzy.
Yeah, we've had Izzy on the show, and she lives sort of in our area, so we've we have a lot of common friends, and we did have her on the show before. So, but Izzy gave it a favorable review, and even compared your writing to that of Joe R. Lansdale, which I don't know, you can get much better praise.
That's high praise. That's very high praise indeed.
One of his short stories, The Night They Missed the Horror Show, was incredibly influential to me as a budding writer. A friend of mine back in high school lent me his copy of Splatterpunks. And for anybody out there listening to this who doesn't know, it's this anthology of short horror stories from the 1980s that came out of this very brief but influential movement called the Splatterpunk movement. And the first story in that collection is Joe Lansdale's The Night They Missed the Horror Show, and that was just very foundational to me as a horror writer.
Yeah, he's such an amazing writer, and even just being mentioned in the same sentence, I imagine, is high praise, and probably makes you feel pretty good about that, because that's he's with such an outstanding career and so many amazing things that he's done. So yeah, and there's a bunch of other praise. I mean, even Jack Ketchum, the late great Jack Ketchum, called the book quirky and said that you're definitely a writer to watch, which also is very high praise from a great author. So
yeah. I mean, that really hit me because he said that not very long before he passed.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I was told, hey, we got a copy of your manuscript into Jack Ketchum's hands. Jack Ketchum is reading it. I mean, that in and of itself was, wow. And then, he passed away not long after he said those things. And the thought that, I mean, geez, this is one of the last things that he read. And he liked it. And actually, Girl Next Door, I spent a summer reading that while I was working in a movie theater in college, and that's another one of those foundational horror texts for me.
Yeah.
And so to have this guy who wrote something that had such a meaning for me, like, shit.
Yeah, no kidding, right? It's incredible. And so it seems like, I mean, there's some praise about it, and it's got to feel pretty good too to have, the first book that Fangoria Presents is releasing. I mean, obviously I know that you do work for Fangoria, but still, I mean, out of all the authors out there they could have picked, they picked your book to release first, which, that's a pretty amazing distinction.
Oh, here's a funny story. The book was originally published by a independent press back in the winter of 2016, and this thing is in print for a blip on the radar, and the publisher goes under.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, the new owners of Fangoria, Cinestate, and Dallas Saunier, I got onto their radar because, you mentioned I had done some acting. That acting is I signed up to be an extra in Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich.
Oh, yes.
They shot it up here in Dallas, and at the time I was still working for Rue Morgue, and I thought, well, this is going to be a lark. I'll go and I'll be an extra in this movie, and I'll always have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go, I show up on sets, I do my thing. You can see me walking across the lobby in one scene. I have the memorable role in Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich as man in lobby. And then a couple of months later, I'm at this horror convention, and I hear somebody yell, "Hey, Preston." And I look up, and it's Dallas, who produced the film, who's the CEO of Cinestate. And he says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I wrote this book, and the publisher, I'm having some issues with them, but they invited me to come and be the horror author guy at this thing." And he says, "No shit, you wrote a book?" And I says, "Yeah." And he says, "Can I have a copy?" And I say, "Okay, sure." And I think he's being nice because he ran into me and he knows me from Puppet Master. And then a couple of weeks after that, I get an email from a woman named Amanda Presmick, who is a vice president of Cinestate, and she says, this may be a surprise to you, but yeah, we're actually reading your book, and we really like it, and we'd like you to come down to our offices to talk about it. And so I go down to the offices, and they say, "We love this book. We would like to purchase the film rights to it." And I say, "Well, here's the funny thing. My publisher went under. How'd you like the publishing rights too?"
Right.
And I had brought the contract to the meeting. I actually brought my publishing contract to this meeting. And I hand it to Dallas, and he's looking at it, and he says, "Wow, this is really good." And this is the point where I figure, you have absolutely nothing to lose. And so I say, "Hey, if you're going to buy the movie rights and you're going to buy the publishing rights, why don't you just hire me too, and I can work for you?" And Dallas and Amanda exchanged this look, and I had no idea what that look meant at the time. And Dallas says, "We just might have something for you." And in the next couple of weeks, I signed what seemed like every NDA under the sun.
Right.
And me, I can be very savvy about some things, like bringing my publishing contract to a meeting, and I can be very obtuse about some things, like thinking, "Oh, it's another NDA. Okay, I'll sign it. Oh, it's another NDA. Okay, I'll sign it. This just must be about my book." And some time later, I'm in the lobby of the Texas Theater in Dallas. It's a historic theater here. It is where they arrested Lee Harvey Oswald after the Kennedy assassination. And they are showing Event Horizon, also in 35 millimeter.
Oh, nice.
And I'm in the lobby waiting for the movie to start, and my cell phone rings, and it's Dallas, and he says, "Hey, I see that you signed everything we need you to sign, and so now I'm going to tell you what that place we might have for you is and why we were so interested in acquiring your book. I bought Fangoria. and we're bringing it back, and I want your book to be the first book that Fangoria publishes, and I've hired you to work for Fangoria.
Holy shit.
Wow.
So that's the story I get to tell people. Anybody ever thinks, oh, this is nepotism, they're publishing your book because you work for them. No, I work for them because they're publishing my book, and I pitched myself during the pitch meeting.
That's amazing.
Very good.
I love that you pitched yourself and were like, hey, and by the way, hire me. That's outstanding.
That's I think that deserves a rounding applause.
Oh, it's such a great story. You'll always have something to tell someone when you meet them in sort of the horror sphere. That's a great story to tell. But yeah, I mean that's super cool. I mean, so obviously it was all about the book first, and they wanted the film rights, and then the book, and then you got a job there. So so everything is coming up Preston right now at this point.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of afraid. So many things are going my way. It's like, okay, got nowhere else to go but down from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you're really excited about the movie too. I mean, that's amazing. Like, not only is it great to have your book be the first released on Fangoria Presents, but also your film will hopefully be released by Fangoria eventually.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's super cool.
That's
so
awesome.
Right now, I'm sure there's not much you can talk about, but is the movie in development, or did they just acquire the rights to it?
Somewhere in between those two things.
Okay, gotcha. So obviously, when we eventually will get more information about it, we'll let the folks know. But it sounds like right now it's sort of in the works. So if people really dig Our Lady of the Inferno, you can look forward to a movie. So buy it on September 11th, read it, and then you can anticipate the movie down the road sometime. So
yeah,
no, that's great. That's such a great story, and we've had some interaction with Dallas. We had him on the show. We did a sort of instead of doing patting ourselves on the back for episode 300, we ended up doing sort of a tribute to Fangoria because it word had just come out that Cinestate and Dallas had purchased it. So we figured it was a good opportunity to sort of pay tribute to such a great magazine and also sort of talk about its future as well. And so we ended up having Dallas on for that, and he was very, very gracious with his time and everything. And it was a blast to just be able to have him on and to talk about Fangoria and where it's headed and everything. It sounds really exciting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the Fangoria could not be in better hands right now. And I'm not saying that because I work for the company. I'm working for the company because I believe that, because of the interactions I've had with Dallas, because of the mission that he has for Fangoria. Fangoria is back in the hands of horror fans. Dallas is a absolute horror fan. He loves the genre. He loves what Fangoria represented, and it's back where it needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
I mean, by all intents and purposes, everything we've seen and talking with Dallas, like, we absolutely agree, and we're really excited for the future. Not only is the magazine going to be back in print, but there's obviously books coming out. There's going to be movies. There's some great stuff in store. So
the sun's shining bright. It's looking really good.
Yeah,
they're on the right track.
Absolutely. So, and it's great, having, obviously we've never interacted before, but we've, obviously I've read your work in Room Morgue and everything. So, from everyone that I know that's on board with the magazine, it's definitely in good hands with Phil and you and some of the other folks out there. It's certainly in good hands, and I'm really excited to see the magazine when it comes out.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, you guys have seen the cover of my book, right?
Yes. We have it up right now on the screen.
That was designed by a woman named Ashley Detmer.
Yep.
And she is the person who is going to be responsible for the design and layout of the new Fangoria.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. It's a really cool cover.
Yeah, you look at that, and that gives you an idea of, what the aesthetic of Fangoria is going to be. And the woman who's responsible for our publishing wing at Cinestate and Fangoria, Jess Safa-Vermeer, she is somebody, her dream as an adolescent growing up was to work with Fangoria. And so, once again, about the magazine being in the hands of people who love horror, who love Fangoria. You could not ask for a better team to be responsible for the relaunch of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're sort of on the topic, are there any teases you can give? If you can't, no big deal. But is there anything you can tease about any of your contributions to the October magazine?
I can say that I have contributions in it.
Okay, that's enough of a tease there. So yeah, and that's I think we mentioned it earlier, and if people want to jump on that and make sure that they can get the October issue, I believe the cutoff is your birthday, of September 11th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's a nice little nice little coalescence of things. September 11th is both the cutoff for subscribing to the first issue of Fangoria and the day that Our Lady of the Inferno drops.
Yeah, it's just been sounds like a whirlwind summer for you, and obviously that's going to be sort of the culmination of everything right there. Is the book comes out, and obviously kind of shifts into high gear, I imagine, with the magazine, with the cutoff for subscriptions. So if people do want to jump on, if you guys are listening to this shortly after the episode drops, definitely get on that and make sure you get your subscription in, because you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss a single issue, because who knows? It's just in print, and who knows? Maybe it'll sell out. Maybe you won't be able to get it. So, just make sure you get on board and subscribe to that as soon as you can. Yeah, that's excellent. It's such a great story, and it's great to hear. Things are obviously working out so well for you. And one thing I sort of want to pivot a little bit is to talk about some of. I figure we don't really talk too much. It's such a great period of time for film, but we don't really talk about the 42nd Street sort of grime and sleaze era very much. There's a lot of great films that have come from that era, but what are some that come to mind for you, Preston, that are some of your favorites?
It's a strange one to mention, and I'm kind of tooting my own horn on this, but there's this movie called Girly. And it's actually a British film. It did not. Ooh, I heard a gasp of recognition.
Girly?
Vanessa Howard,
Yep.
1970. Yeah, I am with the right crowd after all.
I remember Girly. I haven't seen it in years, though, but I do remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this movie that came out of England. It was filmed in the late 60s. It's bombed over there because it just so happened to premiere at the same time there was this big backlash against risque material in cinema. Swinging London really scared the shit out of a lot of people, and Girly drops around the same time as this other picture called Goodbye Gemini with Judy Geeson. And the pairing of these two films on marquees in England just terrifies people, and so Girly bombs over there. But over in the United States, it's got this beautiful 42nd Street reception because people don't quite know what to make of it. And in addition to being weird and lurid, it's just a very beautifully shot and just incredibly well-written film. And it delivers on all of these multiple levels. It's got sex, it's got violence, but it's also got really compelling characters. It's got beautiful location shoots, and it's just a phenomenal film. And I say I'm tooting my own horn because this is one of those movies that I fell in love with as a teenager back in Oklahoma. I salvaged this thing from a bargain bin at a place called Warehouse Market Video, where they were getting rid of all their VHSs that nobody had rented in over a year to make room for DVDs. And I buy this thing, and I just fall in love with it, and I wonder, what the hell is this? And I ended up writing an article about the star of the film, Vanessa Howard, for Scream magazine back in 2013. It ran in their spring 2014 issue. But it's just a film that's got a very near and dear place to my heart. couple of other 42nd Street films that I really dig. There's this one called The Psychopath. I think it ran under a couple of other names, and it's basically a slasher movie where the killer is Mr. Rogers. And it's about this children's show host who is super blatantly supposed to be Mr. Rogers, and he finds out that one of his viewers, this little kid, got killed in a child abuse incident, and he snaps and decides to become a vigilante who preys on abusive parents and goes on a killing spree through SoCal. And the dude who plays the Mr. Rogers surrogate just gives it his all. He was this stage actor named Tom Basham or Tom Basham. I'm not certain how you pronounce it, but he just sells the shit out of this role. And the way he plays this guy, he is just blatantly unhinged. You've got to stop me if I'm rambling because you asked me about movies. Okay.
I'm like I haven't seen the movie, so I'm kind of enthralled. Like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, it is something else. Now a little higher profile, but another one that means a very, very great deal to me is Maniac with Joe Spinell.
That's my favorite.
That one was important enough to me that there's actually a set piece in Our Lady the Inferno built around a screening of Maniac.
Nice.
Ginny, one of my protagonists, and her friend Roger, they spend their free time hanging out in a grindhouse theater and riffing on the movies there and yelling stuff out at the screen. And there is a important scene in the book built around them watching Maniac, and her friend tells her, "Hey, Ginny, there's something I've got to tell you," and he kind of lays out for her, "Look, I think there's a serial killer, and I think she's after you," and it's built around them watching Maniac while he's laying this out.
That sounds incredible. And just to go back to earlier, we talked about Carry On 35mm. I got to see Maniac on 35mm a couple years ago, and that was a great experience. The print was not pristine, but it actually, I think, made it a little bit better.
Yeah, with Maniac, that's the thing, is they keep coming out with better and better versions of it.
Yeah.
I started out with a copy of it on VHS that I bought from a secondhand store, and then I got a bare bones DVD of it, and then I believe they came out with it on Blu-ray, and now they're talking about this 4K restoration.
Yeah.
And it's like, on one hand, I don't think you can ever have enough versions of Maniac.
Right.
And on the other hand, there's something I think that's maybe lost in all of these upgrades, because what works so well about the film, at least for me, is that it does such a good job of putting you into the mindset of that character.
Absolutely.
And really, in the mind of a psycho subgenre, I don't think there's any better film at giving the audience the filth-ridden experience of what it would be like to be this guy and occupy his headspace. And if you're cleaning it up, you kind of lose part of that visceral, almost interactive experience.
I mean, you could see almost every. I would imagine on the 4K release, you could see about every pockmark on Joe Spinell's face just percolating with sweat.
Oh, Jesus.
Really. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've always said that Joe Spinell, his performance in Maniac is the ultimate personification in 42nd Street sleaze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the way he looks, overweight, out of shape, pockmarked, sweating all the time, wild-eyed, hair messed up. Creepy mustache. It just embodies what a lot of people, a lot of outsiders, I would say, would fear going into 42nd Street at that point in time.
Yeah, I know. I gotta agree. I mean, I haven't seen as many 42nd Street films as you, MZ, or also Preston, but yeah, I mean that is sort of probably the height for me as well. MZ, I know you have a couple favorites. You want to talk about some of your favorites from that era?
Oh God.
Well, I know one of your favorite movies of all time is Basket Case.
Oh, I love Basket Case. Yeah. Basket Case is probably the last true vision of what 42nd Street was really like.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly at the beginning. where you have, he's Dwayne with his basket. He's walking down 42nd Street, and then he's being hit on by this guy who has just about every narcotic known to man. Whoa, Raven Shadow just perked up.
Oh, yeah. What was those?
And, he's saying, hey, I got some girls. You want some girls? What the fuck's wrong with you anyway, man? So, and when I remember seeing that way back in, like, 1985 for the first time. And that, like, just that vision kind of solidified my idea of what 42nd Street was like. Whether it be actually worse or better than that, it didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
That scene alone pretty much sealed the deal for me. This is what 42nd Street was like. And at that time, when I first saw it, I was like maybe 14 years old. So by the time I could really appreciate 42nd Street and maybe even get down there if I was old enough to go, take my mom and dad with me maybe and drive to 42nd Street and catch a couple of films. But unfortunately, it started bombing out around 1986. So,
well, yeah, and the interesting thing too,
that's the only thing that sucked.
The interesting thing too is that still exists. You can go to 42nd Street, but it's almost like a fictional place now because it's nothing like that.
No,
I'm sure
it's cleaned up quite a bit.
Yeah, and I'm sure Preston. I'm sure. You might echo the sentiment. Is it's interesting because it's still a place you can go and visit, but it is sort of a fictional place now because it's just not like that anymore, and it's almost sort of like a kind of like a myth in a way now.
Yeah. Part of the research that I conducted for the abandoned theater story and then for Lady of the Inferno was hitting up this message board called City Data. And you can go to different sub-message boards there for different states and different cities, and you can ask questions about different American cities. And so, if you're visiting Boston, you can go to the Boston board and you can ask people, well, what's a good seafood restaurant to eat at? And if you're going to go to, say you're going to Dallas, you can go to the Dallas message board and you can ask people for what's the most convenient way to move around to Kennedy assassination sites.
Yeah.
And so I was able to go there and talk to people on the Manhattan board about 42nd Street back in the day, and I was very fortunate that I was able to meet a couple of different people who had been there during the time that I was writing about. And the interesting thing was that independent of one another, multiple people used the same term, and it was Disneyfication. Multiple people talked about the Disneyfication of 42nd Street and how it's become essentially this giant tourist shop. And the other thing that I found really interesting was I'd be talking to people, and these were now 50, sometimes 60-year-old people, men, women, and they would say things like, I remember 42nd Street back in the day when it was this filthy, disgusting place and there were drugs everywhere and you couldn't walk 20 feet without somebody trying to rape you. And there was just pornography everywhere and gunshots all the time. And oh my God, I miss it so much. And this was a sentiment echoed by multiple people. There was this almost tribal mentality about 42nd Street, that it was rough and sleazy and dangerous and maybe even a little bit evil. But there was a sense of pride about being able to live and survive there. And this badge of honor that you could wear that's, yes, I am a 42nd Street and I don't just survive here, I thrive here. And many, many people miss the drugs and the danger that lurked there, and they would honestly rather have that back than be able to walk down 42nd Street at night and not be afraid of being assaulted.
That is an interesting sentiment.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess on one hand, I can understand, if that's sort of how you grew up, and you became used to it. But it is interesting that people want the danger. They want the the threats to their to their body and to their life.
Yeah, you go into a theater, you have to look over your shoulder all the time just to see if you're getting ready to be mugged. In the meanwhile, you're doing everything they can to avoid stepping in dried piss and
Needles.
inhaling, and sitting on needles and inhaling stale cigarette smoke all night long. But damn it, you get to see like 3 films for like $3, and you can't beat that. You just can't beat that.
So you would put your life on the line.
You're goddamn right.
If
If I had a chance to see Goodbye Uncle Tom on the big screen, I'll be more than happy to sit in dried piss and inhale stale cigarette smoke for the next 2.5 hours or whatever. I'd be proud of it. Call it a battle wound.
Oh, Jesus. Those were the days.
Goddamn right. God, why was I born in the early 70s, man? I missed my calling.
Wait, you want to be born in the 60s so you could live there in your formative years?
Yes, I do. I really don't feel like I fully developed as an adult. I really don't.
No, I think you do. I think the 42nd Street movie shaped you as an adult, which is the problem.
Well, maybe, but you know what? You just got to be there. That's what we're talking about. Just be there.
Well, it's really interesting, Preston, to hear you sort of say that in the research that you did for the book, and it sort of is now this sort of mythological place in a way where you just can't relive that anymore. It's one of those things you just have to to experience through films and books like yours. So. And it looks like in our chat room, there's a couple people that are actually have just pre-ordered it. So we have a couple people listening live that are going to check it out when it comes out. So I'm glad glad to see that people are interested and really kind of picking up what you're putting down, so to speak, on in terms of the book and just talking about 42nd Street, because it really is one of those just really interesting times in probably in the world, but also just sort of in cinema. And it's this snapshot of filth. And there was some really interesting stuff coming out then that you'll never see stuff like that maybe ever again. And if so, it won't be the same, because of the sort of the era that we live in now. But, it is interesting to sort of go back and to relive those and to, experience that. And that's sort of what I felt like. I thought the prologue to your book was really like drove home the fact that this is a filthy fucking place.
That's what was so amazing to me, was that it was this place that was almost simultaneously built on filth and cinema.
Yeah.
Because regardless of who you were on 42nd Street back in the day, if you were a prostitute who was desperate and struggling to survive, and this was your only means to support yourself, or if you were a drug dealer who didn't really care and just wanted the money, or if you were a drug addict, or if you were a pimp, or if you were somebody just trying to get by in the city, no matter who you were, you went to the movies on 42nd Street. It was this common language. It was people of all strata coming together and watching the same things. And black, white, Hispanic, poor, super poor, middle class, upper class guy escaping onto 42nd Street to get a cheap thrill, desperate, borderline homeless person existing on 42nd Street. Regardless of what your background was, you were going and watching these movies and engaging in this tribalistic, almost shamanistic shared experience with other people, and watching these movies that had come out of the struggle of life on 42nd Street. And it was just fascinating to me that some cultures are joined together by religion or political ideology or economic ideology or toxic ideologies about the world. And here in microcosm, you have this kingdom of the damned who was brought together by the shared ideology of film.
Yeah. It's a really interesting way of putting it. And you're right. And, we have all these different cultures throughout the world, but it does seem like, I didn't live through it, but experiencing it through films and documentaries is, you're right. Like it was, cinema was sort of what was the glue that held it together, I think,
Yeah, I mean, it really was. It was the lingua franca of 42nd Street.
Yeah.
And you read recollections of going to these grindhouse theaters, and you had, white Hell's Angels pushing meth on the streets, and you had Black Panthers, and you had, like, scrawny, pimply kids from the suburbs all sitting together next to one another in the same theater watching the same movies. And in a weird way, it was the kind of communal experience that you maybe even can't have today.
Yeah.
When those movies ended, maybe those guys went out on the sidewalk and beat the shit out of one another, but for the duration of a triple feature, they sat next to one another and watched these things together.
Exactly. Three movies for $3, MZ, right? They'd do anything for that.
That's a bargain you can't pass up. You just can't pass it up.
Well, Preston, as we start to wind things down here, I want you to once again let folks know where they can purchase the book, and also if there's any you want to plug anything else, any social media, anything else that you have, please use this platform to plug whatever you want.
Yeah, you can pre-order Our Lady of the Inferno in a couple of different places, but the most convenient is going to be Amazon.com.
Yep.
And you'll know you found it when you come across that beautiful neon-drenched cover that's just so, I'm using this word a lot, but it's appropriate, it just so beautifully captures the ambiance of the book. A song that was very foundational to the story for me is Blue Oyster Cult's Burning for You. I've told multiple people, before you start reading that book, listen to that song, and that song will put you in the proper mindset for the story. And I think that if you were to convert Blue Oyster Cult's Burning for You into an image, it would be the front cover of that book.
Interesting.
For social media, of course, on Twitter and Facebook, please follow Fangoria. Please follow me on Twitter and Facebook as well. That's P as in Peter, R as in Robert, E as in Edward, S as in Sam, T as in Tom, O as in Oscar, N as in Nancy, F as in Frank, A as in Adam, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, E as in Edward, L as in Leonard. On Facebook, that's my name, and on Twitter, that's my handle all together. Please subscribe to Fangoria, fangoria.com. We are only going to be available as a print magazine, so put your orders in now. And a couple of weeks after Our Lady of the Inferno drops, we are going to hit you with a serial killer double feature in the best tradition of 42nd Street.
Nice.
Come for Ginny and Nicolette, Stay for My Pet Serial Killer by Michael J. Seidlinger. That will be Fangoria Presents book number 2. That comes out a couple of weeks after Lady of the Inferno, and you can also put in your pre-orders for that on Amazon as well, My Pet Serial Killer. And if you would just like a mainline hit of Fangoria before all of that, then you can check out Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich. That's out there right now for you to indulge in to your heart's seedy content on Amazon. And I think I just hit everybody with a nice little barrage of stuff to look up, follow, and buy, with emphasis on buy.
Yes.
And so I'm going to bow out.
Yeah, before you bow out, we had our buddy First Time Mike in the chat room just says, okay, this book is definitely going on my list. And he says, somewhere Al Adamson is smiling.
Maybe Al Adamson. I would like to think some, no offense to Al Adamson, because, I mean, that's a beautiful shout-out right there. I would like to think that somewhere Ted Decker and, certainly like to think Ted Decker is smiling. Tom Eber, Night of the Comets.
Yes.
I'm just going to, Al Adamson's smiling. They're all smiling, because I'd like to think that just like all of those people in theaters on 42nd Street in the 70s and 80s, just as all of those films were a uniting force, I would like to think that if you are a horror fan, if you are an exploitation fan, if you're a fan of 80s movies, if you're a fan of 70s movies, then Lady of the Inferno is a book for you. When we were sending out advanced copies of this to reviewers and blurbers, I included a custom written letter in there for people, and it started out with the line, and this, I think, says so very much about the book. This is not a book for you. This is a book for the 18-year-old you.
That's a great,
Very good.
Yeah, that's great, and I think that's probably a great place to end things on. So, Preston, we really appreciate you taking some time to come hang out with us and to talk about the book. I'm really excited. What I've read of it so far has been enthralling, and I'm really eager to dive back in. I know MZ got a chance to take a look at the first chapter, so. From everything we've seen, I mean, the way you explain it, it definitely sounds like a love letter to sort of a time is fun to revisit, but it's no longer around. So if you guys are into that sort of thing, like, this is right down your alley, and you should definitely order Our Lady of the Inferno from Preston Fassel. So Preston, thank you for joining us on Trick or Treat Radio. We really appreciate it, and we'll definitely have to catch up with you again down the line. And if we get any information about a movie, we'll definitely let folks know about that. So we really appreciate your time.
Appreciate y'all having me on. Thank you very much. It's been a blast.
Yes, of course, Preston. You take care, and we'll catch up with you again soon, bud.
Thanks.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. There was Preston Fassel,
That was cool.
everyone.
That was cool.
That was cool, sort of going down. I know, MZ, you're a huge fan of that era of film, so I knew that you were going to love this book and you were going to love talking to Preston.
Yeah, I've read the first chapter, and he paints a very ugly picture, and I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very happy with what I'm reading so far.
He knows his stuff, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
yeah.
Smart dude.
I'm
man.
surprised you didn't mention Elmer.
Wasn't that a little after?
That yeah.
It was a little after the 42nd Street.
Yeah, that
stuff.
came out in '88.
Yeah.
So 42nd Street was
Kaput.
pretty much dead by
almost
that
dead,
point.
But I thought that Elmer was kind of like they were like implying that film happened then, not in '88, because what's his name is like on the train.
Oh yeah, it's that they try to because Dwayne is on the train. They try to hitch it on like an unofficial sequel. I suppose.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's almost like what he's doing. It's almost like he loved that, not what New York was when he made it.
Yeah, really interesting talking to Preston and just hearing the research that went into it, and like it definitely has me sort of jonesing for a little bit more of watching some of those films. It's been a while since I've checked some of them out. But
that was fun talking to him. I enjoyed that. That
absolutely.
was a blast.
Great dude, and really excited to see check out his stuff in Fangoria and see what else he does
Girly,
next.
Man.
I've never seen. I'd never even heard of Girly. I don't think.
Do you have it, MC?
I used to have it.
Really?
I used to have it on VHS. It is out on DVD. I don't know how well the availability of that is, to be honest. But it's a very unusual flick. It's very unusual.
It looks it.
It's like this high end family, and the girl, whose name is Girly, she has she's very sexual. She's like 16, 17 years old in the movie, but she's very sexual and she's not afraid to show it. And she just like, in a way, it's like she kind of cures her boredom by torturing guys and teasing her brother. And
is it
things
sort
like
of
that.
Lolita-ish?
Yeah. That's a good example. Yeah, very Lolita-ish, and it's directed by Freddie Francis, who directed Tales from the Crypt.
Oh,
the 1973
interesting.
version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, that's real cool. So
That's Atticus, right?
Huh? Say again? Oh, yes.
Atticus, yes. I want to, in the chat room, let me just catch up real quick. Our buddy David says, just pre-ordered first physical book I've bought since I got a Kindle in 2014. Awesome, man. I'm glad you supporting the author and getting a physical copy. That's really awesome. And first time Mike says, now that's a selling line. I think he was talking about this isn't a book for you, it's a book for the 18-year-old you.
Right.
And he also says, I'm looking forward to this book. The more I look at it, the more I could see me reading or renting this in the 80s or 90s. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I hope it'll be interesting with the film to see if they're going to really try to. I mean, they have to capture that sleaze and grime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's that's like in the DNA of the book. So it'll be really interesting to see how they're able to pull that off. I mean, if it's Cinestate making it, Fangoria, which I mean, it sounds like it is, then I definitely have a lot of high hopes because they haven't steered us wrong yet. So
because that was the success of the Maniac remake, they didn't even try.
Right, which was the right way to go. Yeah, if you had tried to make a carbon copy of that, it just wouldn't have worked. You're not going to be able to make a better version of that. But putting it in a more sort of
modern.
more modern take, was a really smart way to go.
What's funny, I mean, it's just even about the sleaze factor, even with the movies, everyone mentioned, but to me also it was comics too. A lot of comics really seem to really draw, and those, the Punisher, or even Power Man and Iron Fist, or even, I mean, would it be fair, the Streets of Watchmen were from that era? I just remember.
I think so. Close to it, anyways. If not exactly that.
Well, if they were like victims of the. If Republicans and the regime weren't worried about losing, they wouldn't have ever cleaned up New York. Like if they felt like they were going to be in charge forever, they would have just let New York, 42nd Street, take over the whole island.
Become fucking John Carpenter.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's head to a break, and we'll kind of reset things. And we have a little bit of feedback that I want to get to as we sort of wind things down a little bit here. So, MZ, we'll be back in how long?
Yeah, we'll be back in 2 and 2.
The following message is a paid advertisement for the Cult of Muscle podcast. The Cult of Muscle. You're either in it or you're dead.
It's the dawning of a new age. The halls of Valhalla have been shuttered. The heroes of yore have either retreated to the shadows or taken to capering for the amusement of the small folk. Their past glories a distant memory. The barbells have been torn from their once puma-strong grips. The beards shorn from their square jaws, only to be transplanted onto flannel-clad, puny weaklings with fingers barely powerful enough to strum a ukulele. The time has come, my brothers, to restore order from the chaos. No longer will our heroes be forgotten. No longer will their great deeds be viewed through a foggy lens of irony. Hear now our rallying cry as we scream it from the mountaintops, as we bellow it from iTunes and Libsyn and Facebook. It's time to join the cult, my brothers. So don your cloaks and enter the Cult of Muscle.
I'm Mike Allred. For the gidgiest listening experience, you gotta check out Trick or Treat Radio.
Oh, delicious nerds. Ms. M knows you like to chat it up with other sexy shut-ins about comics, movies, video games, and your favorite TV shows. If that sounds like you, cuddle up to the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group, or the FIB. That stands for Fan Interaction Board. Just go to Facebook and search for Trick or Treat Radio and have more fun than a Jedi at a lightsaber sale. Not enough? Watch us on YouTube, The Deadites TV, all one word. Last but not least, check out the world's most dangerous talk radio show, Trick or Treat Radio, at trickortreatradio.com.
Hey there, this is R.A. Salvatore, call me Bob, and you're listening to Trick or Treat Radio.
We return. We're back.
Are we back?
I think so.
Nice.
Wait, are we back? Oh, we're back. Yeah, we're back. Never mind. All right, we're back on Trick or Treat Radio.
I didn't know you were asking for real.
No, I wasn't. All right, we have some feedback Feedback. Oh, we just got another piece. Let me get this ready here. Where are we gonna go first? All right, we have. Yeah, let's go here first. So we heard from our buddy Carlitos, and looks like he's going to answer some of the questions from the last couple weeks. So let's check in with our boy Carlito.
Hey, Trick or Treat Radio, this is Carlitos. What's going on?
Somebody!
Just here laying on the bed having Destiny 2 withdrawals because I'm deciding not to pick up the new expansion that came up this week. Because of various reasons. Spider-Man. Anyway, I thought I'd call and answer the last two questions you guys had the past 2 weeks. The
Spider-Man and Destiny?
Cinematic doll question and the soundtrack question. Favorite soundtrack. And for my favorite cinematic doll or puppets in a horror movie, I think that was the question, is are the dolls in the movie Barbarella. And so I think earlier, it's early in the film, Barbarella meets these twin space girls, and then they take her, and she meets up with a bunch of other space children, and they just basically tie her up to some poles and line her and put in front of her some very creepy steel-jawed chomping dolls, and they all slowly walk towards her, chomping their mouths, making this very somewhat they make two sounds. They make a somewhat disturbing child scream and these really hard-sounding clasp of their jaws, and they start to eat her until the guy in the Yeti suit saves her. And yeah, those things are, I just watched the scene on YouTube, and they're creepy little things, you know. They creeped me out when I was a kid when I saw the film, and they still creep me out now. So that goes with that question. And for the movie soundtrack question, I was surprised I didn't hear any John Carpenter.
Who?
So my pick is the soundtrack to The Hitcher, which is not by John Carpenter. But it's a great soundtrack, particularly in the opening scene where Jim Halsey is driving through the desert. And the end credits one are my particular favorites of that entire movie. And there's some standouts in the middle during the film as well. But it's a very moody, synthy soundtrack, very atmospheric. It really conveys a sense of desolation of the desert in which the film takes place in. And yeah, it's great. I love it. And that's it. That's all I got for that. I don't know if there's a question this week. I didn't see it. So you guys have a good show, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, buddy. Thanks for checking in, Carlitos. We appreciate it, bud. And yeah, I think the thing was, I mean, for me anyways, when talking about the horror soundtrack or horror score, I should say, I didn't want to go low-hanging fruit. I wanted to go something a little bit different. So I thought that somebody would pick John Carpenter, and I bet everyone else thought that too.
Yeah.
So I think that's what ended up happening.
It's actually weird, like, for whatever, and you know my taste, Johnny, it didn't actually cross my mind. You know what I mean? Like, for whatever reason, when I was thinking of it, because I come with not a horror movie originally, but
right. Yeah.
Like, for whatever reason, like, even on the rebound, I didn't think of it.
Speaking of, what would you guys say would be his best score if you had to pick? I mean, just to kind of
John
Escape
Carpenter's
from New
best
York.
score?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, like
Halloween is really up there.
Well, it's just so iconic.
So
you know, it's
good.
hard. When I got to go see him live with Professor J and D Rook, it was like song after song. It was like, oh, I love this song. Holy shit, I love this song. No, I love this one. And
That's the same
it
as
just kept
Goblin,
going.
too,
Yeah,
when I went to Goblin.
yeah.
Like,
That's why
every
it's-
single one was my favorite.
yeah, it's so hard to pick.
Even fucking vampires, man. I mean, like it's fucking John Carpenter stuff.
See,
I can't believe Raven Shadow missed an opportunity to say Big Trouble
I know,
in China,
right?
In my head, yeah, Big Trouble in China. They live.
It's so funny, those three that you
Halloween
just
3.
mentioned. Like, I love nuances of them, but I don't like when he does the, like, I don't like as much because I don't like guitar really.
Yeah, I like the
so
synth
I don't,
stuff
I
way
don't,
better.
I don't
Yeah,
like when
yeah.
he does like the blues.
That
sort
I
of
actually am
stuff,
not
like,
a big fan of the They Live soundtrack, the score. I think it's fine and it fits fine.
Oh, I love
There's some
David's
suspect
soundtrack.
There's some tracks
harmonica
that are,
and saxophone and
Yeah,
stuff in there
yeah.
that just aren't.
It
Like,
doesn't
are
hold up.
ve-
Yeah,
it's
but the
not
saxophone. I mean,
timeless.
that's the '80s. I mean, everything had a saxophone solo in
But
the 80s.
that's what I
back
just
then.
said. It's not timeless.
it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't hold up.
like
from the
where
80s too.
Yeah, but I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't just like. Only Johnny said he didn't like it. I just don't like. I just don't like it as much.
You know what's interesting too is I was actually having that conversation with T Dog recently that because we were listening to the new Gunship track with Tim Capello on it, and it's fucking awesome. Have you guys heard this track yet?
No.
Well, anyways, it's fucking great. I can't remember. I'll pull it up. I can't remember the name of the track. I have it. I recently listened to it, so it's probably still on my last played.
I didn't get to listen to that record yet.
It's it's not out yet.
Oh, I
The
thought
new
the
one?
Blood on the Reed.
Tim
Yeah.
Capello's. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is out, and I haven't listened to that either.
Yeah,
I'm
that
talking about
just came out.
the Gunship.
Yeah.
The song is Dark All Day, and people have posted videos on the Fib for it. It's a great video.
Well, I mean, Gunship is just awesome.
Yeah, Gunship's great, and it's just such a cool song. And we were talking about that, and even Tim had talked about this when he was on, that the saxophone is sort of a forgotten instrument where. After the 80s and even into the 90s, like, people just don't want to hear sax, really.
Yeah.
So it's very limited into sort of where it can sound good nowadays, it seems. I disagree with that. I think it can be used, like, this track shows you that it can be used in other ways.
Yeah.
But it is one of those instruments that sort of just isn't very prevalent right now.
Well, people think Sexy Sax Man or the sax player rolling out of a horn section and doing like a soul, like Clarence Clemens.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we use it like a more like when Antichrist does it, we use it more of like backing the bass. Like we use it as like kind of an offsetting of like the bass.
Well,
almost the
it
same way
doubles.
Yeah.
It doubles. Yeah.
Yeah, the same way Parliament would double the bass with synth. You know.
Yeah. Let me actually. I want to pull that track up and just play like a couple seconds of it because it's real good. And I think the new album's coming out in the beginning of October, so we still got a couple weeks. But so while I pull that up, actually, why don't we go to another voicemail? Did anyone else have a comment about Carpenter score? No. Aries, you're really taking this 15 words to heart.
Yeah. Well, it's not my fault. I didn't say anything the whole time, so they can really blame me.
All right. Well, let's hear from Dynamo's son, Pabst.
Hey guys, it's Paps. Just calling in this week. I watched the movie that you guys watched this week, What Keeps You Alive, and I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Not super blown away by it or anything, but it had some good scenes, and it had some cool stuff in it. I did really fucking hate the GoPro footage that they used in it, like when she's stitching herself up and... like when they attached it to the oar, I just thought it looked really fucking shitty. But other than that, I did enjoy it. Yeah, it's pretty good. I give it like a, what do you guys say, a tepid treat.
There you go.
Yeah, and so I have a question for you guys this week, and for your guests as well, if they're still there. So in October, what I try and do is I try and watch 31 horror movies. Whether that's one each day or doubling up or, whatnot. But I've been doing that for a few years now. And I wanted you guys to suggest me some horror movies that you think are definite must-watches. Whether, it's just something really fun and hokey, and cheesy. Whether it's something fucking awesome that you saw recently. I want to know from you guys... what's one movie that you would suggest that you think I should put on my list? I'm gonna post it in the Fib. I'd like to get everyone who is a part of the Trick or Treat radio community's input on it. I have the list mostly put together. I think there's a few spots, and it's all subject to change. And a lot of times I end up going off lists a few days in. But yeah. So I want to know from you guys, what is a movie that you would suggest? I have some really good ones on it that I'm really looking forward to rewatching. Train to Busan is like number one. I think that's like the first one I put on my list. I'm really looking forward to rewatching that one. I don't think I've seen it since like 2016 or whenever it came out. I'm looking forward to rewatching Hereditary. You know, there's another one on there that I know you guys loved. What was it? Oh yeah, Baskin. Yeah, so I haven't seen Baskin since I initially saw it when it hit Netflix back in like 2016 or so, I think. I don't know. But yeah, so I want to know from you guys, what's one horror movie that you would suggest that I put on my list for my 31 Days of Halloween? All right. Looking forward to listening to the episode, and peace.
All right. Well, thanks, Pabst. And, you know, he didn't like the movie quite as much as us, but, you know, to each their own. No. But Pabst is doing 31 Days of Halloween. Does anyone here do 31 Days of Halloween?
I don't exactly do 31 days because I got kind of...
Well, you watch movies like horror movies all the time, so...
Yeah, well, what's funny is I only almost watch horror movies just for here now. Like, I've almost divorced...
The rest is like Cult of Muscle.
Yeah, I've almost divorced horror movies. Like, I'm just like not...
oh, you like elevated horror.
I think that either doing this or just the state of horror has made me not like it as much. Like, I think that it's just... I just am seeing not as much new stuff that I love, but you know, maybe in the last 2 weeks we've had a turnaround. But Michael Koopmans, my dear friend, had kind of inadvertently challenged me at some point because he said I watch horror movies all year round. At Halloween, I want to watch movies about Halloween.
Right.
So it's hard for me because there's something at like the tip of my tongue that's really, really Halloweeny, but I can't think of it, like something that like I added to my list recently. What I will say, Pabst, is if you want to watch something that you haven't seen, this is not very Halloweeny, but it's very underseen. It's original film. I can't say the guy's name, but he made the House of the Devil and no, not House of the Devil. I saw the other Devil movie, the ones with the Trotter rope. And he made the nitroglycerin movie there.
Yeah,
we did a lot
Adrian
of
Garcia
right.
Bagliano.
It's called Rooms for Tourists.
Rooms for Tourists, yeah.
And it is very dark, very gritty. And I actually, when I was still getting Netflix discs, it just came one day. I had forgot why I got it or why I wanted it. And I actually watched it one year on Halloween, so it's probably the only reason. It takes place in Mexico or down in Texaco. So it's, again, not Halloweeny. But I do really recommend that you check it out if you haven't.
If everyone has one, well, I guess we'll just all go through and we can pick one. For me, immediately when he said it, I mean, everyone has their own way to do it. I actually like the way that our buddy Al Goro does it, and he watches 31 movies he'd never seen before,
Right.
which I think is interesting. I mean, eventually, you know, it's tough to... I mean, there's tons of movies out there, so you never run out. But, you know, I do like that. I just don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
If I did, I would probably do the same and watch 31 I'd never seen before. So I'd move to put some ones on the list you've never seen before.
He's got some chores this year.
Who has chores?
Al Goro. Like, I saw
don't-
his list.
Yeah,
and
I
it's,
don't remember what's on it. So
Yeah, it's not a...
Like laundry?
yes,
Mowing the lawn?
mowing the lawn. No, that's what you do.
That's true.
I have the feeling
Michael
liked it.
chores and shadow.
Yeah. Me and Wolfie liked it. I know that, but I get the distinct feeling that he would rather be watching Mow the Lawn than Don't Panic. When rubber hits the road.
Don't Panic. No, that
Yeah.
movie's fucking awesome.
Yeah, but but not everyone likes.
No.
Not everyone enjoys being hurt ocularly as bad as we do.
So my pick would be probably. I don't know if you've seen this, Paps. If you haven't, then definitely needs to go on your list. And that would be Della Morte Dell'Amore, aka Cemetery Man.
I think I showed it to him.
Okay,
But
then
I could be wrong.
Forget that one.
Yeah, that's a good one though.
Neon
That's very-
Maniacs.
Yeah, that's very high. I think Neon Maniacs happens at Halloween, so that's a good one.
Yeah.
Dell'Amore, though, not like that. There's something very odd to me about that. That's a good one.
Do you guys have picks?
I mean, it's easy. I mean, I want to watch Monster Squad.
All right, well, there you
Nothing
go.
wrong
Makes
with
me-
Monster
Makes you
Squad.
smile. You get a little bang for your buck. You know, it's a nice amuse-bouche to your 31.
You had another opportunity to say Big Trouble in Little China.
Well, I'm gonna watch it anyway. Actually, I watched that the other night. Actually,
I can't remember if that happens. Actually, no, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a good one though.
All right.
When I think about it, because I every now and then I'll do it. I'll do the 31 days.
Yeah, I know you've done it in the past.
And I always like to, make it different every year. That's not the same movies, but one that always ends up making the list for me is Dead and Buried. I've always loved Dead and Buried, and if you've never seen it, I highly recommend.
We have the poster right over there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Weird little. The backstory is almost as interested in the film itself.
Screenplay by Dan O'Bannon.
Yep.
And who directed it? I can look over there. Gary Sherman.
Yep, Gary Sherman. Stan Winston did the effects.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
And has Jack Albertson in it. And this was his last role, if I'm not mistaken, from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh yeah.
Grandpa Joe.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So there is that's a good one. Yeah, Dead and Buried.
Very shocking. Very good ending.
Yeah.
Very, very satisfying ending in that movie.
Aries, do you have one? Anything come to mind?
Maybe something that most people have overlooked, Lord of Illusions from the mid-90s.
That's a great one.
Not outstanding, but decent.
There's a great
overlooked
Scream Factory edition to that too.
Yeah.
Oh, the one. Sorry, surprise! What was the one? Was it Monster House we did?
Monster House.
It was animated.
No,
Paranorman.
Paranorman.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a
wow,
good one.
that was a while ago.
That's a real good one.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and I was mad going. I'm like, I don't want to fucking watch this.
Paranorman was
really
pretty
good.
How are the? I've never seen it, but how are the Hotel Transylvania
They're
movies?
kiddie ones.
They're super kiddie.
They're on the wrong side of that
Yeah.
Pixar
All right.
line. But Monster House, if you've never seen that, is as good or better than Paranorman, I think.
It's scary, right? If I remember, like the house.
I thought it was scary. Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And great performances in Monster House. Jerk Gyllenhaal's sister there, and I can't remember who else.
And The Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy is actually not terrible.
What an endorsement.
Is that on the box art?
It should be.
It's
not
The
terrible.
it's
better
zombies
than
in
Van
that,
Helsing.
The zombies in that are actually pretty damn decent.
It's not Vampire in Brooklyn.
I just watched Van Helsing.
It's better than Van Helsing.
Still not good.
All right, so there you go, Paps. Let us know. Yeah, post up the list when you get it, and if you need more recommendations, let us know. All right, I did have. So here's the gunship track, Dark Old Day. Let me play a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of talk over it because I don't want to get dinged on YouTube.
It's tough for me to recommend stuff to Paps because.
Well, you showed him a lot of stuff.
Showed him so much
your
stuff.
son.
Yeah, like. Plus, we used to almost have a class at the comic shop.
You guys watching this video? Come on, watch. This video is fucking awesome.
I saw the Santa Carla little intro in the beginning.
This is such a cool video. It's an animated video for it. So if you guys haven't seen, go check out Gunship Dark All Day, featuring Tim Capello and Indiana.
Looks like Gunship had the little Canon logo on the door.
Yeah, it did. Or maybe it was a Cult of Muscle logo. Speaking of Tim, maybe we should see if we can get him back on because his album's out now.
Yeah.
Oh, you think he's going to the Rocket Shock this year?
Probably not, just because they don't always bring the same guest back 2 years in a row.
Oh, fair. But
Unless you were in
you're Bill Moseley.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're, yeah.
Well,
no complaints. Just saying.
We might be the only thing.
Yeah, as far as vendors go, we might be the ones that have been there like every year, right, Mars?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I'm sure there's.
No one gives two fucks in a twist.
Well, no, but MZ, do you know if Morbid Visions has been there every year, or did they start?
I started connecting with Morbid Visions 12 years ago, so 2006. So, and they started when 2004, 2000.
So, well, this is their 15th year, so 2003, I guess.
So what? I don't know. I'd have to ask Brian, but
Yeah.
I know he's been here. I know he's been there since 2006.
Yep.
I know that for a fact.
Derek missed a year.
Did he?
2012, I think.
Okay. But he's been there a lot too. So.
Yeah.
That guy looks like Blade,
Is that
right?
Blade? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, what's his name? Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah. Michael? Is that, oh, no.
Mike,
Shit,
fuck.
oh, man. What was his name?
David.
David, yes. Michael was...
the good guy.
The other guy, yeah. That's
Jason Patrick.
Yep. Such a cool video.
This should be a fucking cartoon.
I know. It should be a movie.
It looks like the
Castlevania.
Castlevania, I think too.
It does, yeah. Yeah, this is great though. So if you guys are into sort of, I don't know, like I never know, I'm not good with all the subgenres, but it's retro wave, synth wave, or even 80s inspired synth wave, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Synthwave might be the genre that started to split off of any musical genre fastest. Like it was crazy.
Like more than black metal at this point, I think.
Yeah, like
or
it's
like metal.
It's
in
like
general.
really wild. Like there's
Yeah.
like I from like so Jacob got me into getting those synth packs, and from like synth pack to synth pack, there's a subgenre like that I had never heard of before. Well, the unfortunate side effect is I don't think any of it sounds different enough to not be electronic music, you know. So
Yeah, and I actually have been listening to a fairly good amount of some of this sort of synth wave
Yeah,
or
I s-
retro wave stuff.
I was creeping on you on my Mac crash the other day. Actually,
Creeping on me. And there's, let me pull up some of the stuff I've been digging. We haven't done a double tap in a while, so.
Oh, Devin Townsend.
No,
Devin
it says
Townsend
fucking
did actually
synthwave.
come up with something recently, though.
Night Runner is one of them, and Meteor. And I've also been listening to Lamatos's their Turbo Kid soundtrack as well. So yeah, Jakey's our boy from Cult of Muscle. He's the man when it comes to synthwave stuff. So if we can, if we need some more recommendations, we can hit him up.
I think I recommended this to you because you told me how to say it, but
Perturbator?
No,
I'm just
denotive. It's D. Oops, I didn't mean to play it.
Gonna get dinged.
It's D. Period. Notive. In the name
Denotive?
of the in the name of the record is The Sentinel.
Okay. The good stuff.
It's fucking great. I love it. It's a good mix of synthwave, but it's got a lot of that European style Depeche Mode like thrown into.
Yeah.
I really
Cool.
like it.
By the way, Mars, something will cheer you up. Julie Meow Meows is in the chat room. She says, "Hey, creatures of the night."
She's here for me. She's a plant.
And David says, "I think one of the best movie soundtracks is Dino De Laurentiis' Conan the Barbarian."
Yeah, without a doubt.
Not a horror soundtrack, but is a fantasy movie. Otherwise, I got to go with A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1, the original. Sorry, too lazy to record a voice message this week. Hey, no worries, man. We'd love to hear from you sometime again, David. But some great picks there. Yeah, that Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah,
it's
it's
score
great.
is fucking
Especially
classic.
the March.
Yeah.
Bum 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 bum. Yeah, I love that one.
All right, we have actually one other thing I wanted to play. I meant to play this earlier during the review of the movie, but we were sort of moving a little quick, obviously. But is some music from Brittany Allen. She goes under the name Audrey, which is a little interesting because I had a little trouble finding her just typing in Audrey, but it's Brittany Audrey Allen. I assume it's her middle name. And this track is called The Impossible. Let me play a little bit of this. And it's sort of like electronic, a little dancey, a little poppy. And it's also pretty heavy as well. And apparently she wrote it like leading up to the election. And then once Trump was elected, I guess she went in and changed it a little bit. And it's sort of, I think, what added to some of the attitude of it. But it's really fucking good. So this is Audrey. The name of the song is The Impossible. It's on YouTube. She had the "It Stains the Sands" red sort of look.
You know what? I've heard of this before.
Yeah.
I didn't know the connection. Obviously, it's right up my alley. But
yeah.
There's not this song so much, but she is kind of like all over the place while keeping a grasp on what she is, which I was impressed with.
Yeah.
Some of it reminds me of Robin.
Robin?
Swiss-
Tim Drake or Jason Todd?
The super awesome. I think she's Swiss, maybe pop star.
Oh, okay.
European Madonna, but she's also some of it, like you said, is kind of more like, I don't want to say industrially, but like it's like heavy. Like,
Yeah. This one sort of runs the gamut a little bit. It's pretty poppy at times, but can also be fairly aggressive.
yeah, it took me a little bit to come around to it because I was looking for more bands that were like Robin or Scarlett Johansson's band, the Specials. That album never came out, so. But I liked it. Yeah, it's funny that I didn't know that was anybody I knew from anywhere else.
Yeah, and she did. We didn't really talk as much as I would have liked, but she did a phenomenal job with the score for the movie What Keeps You Alive.
I wonder if she was excited or not to have another job.
She was also in Jigsaw, which I haven't seen yet. I guess her and the other and her wife in the movie were both in Jigsaw. Yeah. So that's a little bit of The Impossible from Audrey, and the video was directed by Colin Minihan. Her I don't know if they're married or not, but her partner, the one who directed What Keeps You Alive, so he did that as well. All right, well, we have one more voicemail, and that would be from our boy Nathan Cotton Coy Vance Duke. Nice.
Hey guys, this is Cody. Giving you all a call because last week Raven Shadow was so sweet as to remember that last you'd spoken to me. I was about to head off on a big journey. I did indeed make it all the way from deep east Texas to sort of mid-east North Carolina, driving a U-Haul the whole way. And it was largely with your help. Listened to a lot of you guys, a lot of Cult of Muscle, a lot of your Kickstarter sucks. So I appreciate it. Just re-listened to a lot of your old episodes. Started at like around 200. Just kind of like, I don't know, jumped back into a spot that was semi-recent, but so far enough away. Real good chunk of episodes. You start to see Jar Jar Blanks show up there, and I think it's 214 is the one where you have a big you have the big argument about
which one?
The NFL and Michael Vick versus Ruggero Deodato. I think it's 214. Just an all-time great exchange. One of the most bizarre conversations I've ever heard two adults have. Just 5-star stuff. And something that I heard in those episodes that I kind of wanted to touch base on, just kind of catch up with, see what happened there. Around that time, you guys were raising funds for an air conditioner. I know you got the air conditioner, and you continued to raise funds. Before the funds had been raised, MZ said that he would, if the funds were raised, get a tattoo of Michael Raven Shadow.
Oh!
So my question is, were funds raised adequately? I feel like MZ needs a new tattoo, and I want an update on that front. In any case, hope this isn't too late. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Nathan Cotton, Corey Vance Duke right there.
God damn you, Nathan.
Time stamped like a motherfucker. Where you bet on that one, Nick? So, yeah, I think the funds were raised, right, Johnny?
Well, we have an air conditioner.
It's so fucking cool in here.
I honestly don't even remember that, but
I remember now.
It doesn't mean it didn't happen. I don't remember a lot of stuff that happens on the show. Did you say that, MZ? Do you remember?
I vaguely recollect it, yes. I'm not going to lie to you. I do remember saying it.
They do tattoos at the Rocket Shop sometimes, don't they? Don't they have a couple cats having a little table there?
What if I was to get a small tattoo of
a raven? The Bombaleo, but the Bombaleo smoke, the one on the shirt.
Ooh. It could be inspired.
Inspired by.
Yeah.
Let me see.
You are due for another tattoo, aren't you?
What if Raven J
been
draws
a
it?
decade.
It could be sexy.
Maybe we'll have him get it at Rock and Shock.
That's what I'm saying, John.
Yeah. What are you looking for?
Another incentive to come up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and then I'll sign it. We can tattoo that.
Oh. All right. Well, let's start to wind things down. And by the way, Cody mentioned Jar Jar Blink, so we miss him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just
I'd get a
busy-
Raven J.
That's
a Raven J of
Raven Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke with Jar Jar. I spoke with Jar Jar Blinks just the other day.
Yeah, I speak with him on occasion. He's just super busy with a lot of stuff that's going on right now. So
He told now I'm mad at him because he told me to hang around more.
hang around more.
Yeah,
Where?
it's his fault. But the I guess Blinkbuster video is coming along.
Nice.
He's not going to be at the show, but he is going to be at Rock and Shock, which means that I might not see him. So I miss him very much, and we're going to have to make some plans, and we're going to have him on the show because I miss him like crazy.
Yeah, me too. We miss you, Jar Jar Blinks. He's been really busy with he's moving Blinkbuster video and got a lot of stuff.
I guess
going
wedding
on.
season started
early. Yeah, he's filming a lot of weddings and he's just a busy dude. So, but we keep in touch and we'll get him back on the show again soon. He's last time I talked to him, he said he misses everyone. So, also I'm seeing this Mars. I don't know if I can't remember if I mentioned on the air earlier or if I just said it during a break. But our buddy Anthony Landry, sort of a cool little thing. He was at the All In show.
Yeah.
From that the Young Bucks and Cody put on, and he had after the show ended, when the pay-per-view ended, he recorded the speech that the Bucks and Cody and all the Bullet Club guys did in the ring, and I guess they used that on their weekly YouTube show, Being the Elite, which has thousands of people, like hundreds of thousands of people watch it a week. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, one of my guy I work with mentioned that he watched the pay-per-view and said it was a really good promo they did. So it has to.
It wasn't on the
pay-per-view.
But no, they showed it. If they showed it, he's a big wrestler, Mark.
Yeah,
so
no,
could he have
probably
have
on
seen it?
No. What I'm saying is he would have had to watch Anthony's video on YouTube.
He did watch. I think he did watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe he did see it. It wasn't on the pay-per-view. So the Young Bucks, when they put together Being the Elite, they were looking for the video of that because they didn't have it because the cameras were turned off, and then they used our buddy Anthony's.
Because you were saying there was something where they made a point how it sold out in like literally 10 minutes.
26 minutes.
26 minutes. It was for for the fans, and it
Yeah,
really
yeah.
they gave a very. I mean, it's the only thing. How else would he? What other speech would he have seen?
Well, they did say.
Well, they did one at the beginning.
They did do
to kick the show off. They
yeah.
they talked.
And they
So
also
I don't
did
know.
a special too, where they said, but it was pretty historic too. I am very, not that I have any connection to them, but from some of them being around when I was more involved in being like a Ring of Honor groupie and hanging around with Wolfie and Quack and stuff. Like it's amazing. Like those guys kind of delivered on a promise that I was hoping somebody from that era would. Not even wrestling, be it Pro Wrestling Guerrilla or Astron 6 or us or someone. They showed the system that they don't need anyone.
Yeah, they're the only basically the last company that wasn't WWE to have a 10,000 seat show sell out was WCW in like 2001, was it? I think when they went under. So no one aside from WWE has done that in the States, and this is not even associated with a promotion. It's the Bullet Club basically. It's the Bucks and Cody and Kenny Omega, Marty Scurll, Hangman Page, a bunch of those guys, and they just put it on themselves and they put their own money up. Cody and the Bucks put their own money up.
I mean, our friend base played it down, but I do think the Stephen Amell thing helped some.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I forget. Stephen Amell, obviously, who plays Arrow Raven Shadow, was on it.
Yeah.
He had a match against Christopher Daniels, which was actually not bad.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was as good as actually, which I was disappointed because there's more time of the one he had with Cody. I think it was SummerSlam a few years ago, but.
I guess Anthony's listening. I had no idea you were listening to the show.
Oh,
He's
pal.
like, thanks for the shout out. Hey, pal.
Oh, pal. Good video, pal. Why don't you film my wedding next time?
We should have Anthony on sometime.
Seriously, just do fucking Vince
I can't even get him to hang out with me.
Well, he's a busy dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, he's
keeping the streets of Boston safe.
I love going to see, like watching wrestling with that dude or just hanging out. So
I love him.
He just said, "Listen, pal."
Oh, pal.
God damn.
I'll just do that for myself for like 20 minutes. And it makes me laugh.
He said Nick responded. So Nick Jackson from the Young Bucks responded to him, and he says he may be getting credit, which is awesome.
Nice. Oh.
That's fucking great, man. I'm so happy for you. I'm glad you were there. I'm a little jealous, but I'm glad you were able to be there. That's so cool that a video of his is gonna like get hundreds of thousands of views now because it was used on Being the Elite. So
How's
cool.
that dinner table going to be one night? Hardworking filmmaker making a string of brilliant films seen by X amount of people. Holds his phone up at a wrestling show seen by hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah. He says, "God damn that Raven Shadow. God damn, pal." It's fucking awesome. So that is it for voicemail. And let's see. I think we got everything out of the way. Yeah, I wanted to play that Audrey track. We played a little bit of Gunship. Had a fucking awesome conversation with our boy Preston. Oh, Anthony says, right place, right time. I told him I had no idea he was listening. He says, thanks again, fellas. Loved all.
Night, pal.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, pal. All right. Anyone else have anything before we start our goodbyes? No. MZ.
Raven-Edge douchebag.
Aries.
Goodbye.
I think you're staying under the 15-word limit.
Can't blame me.
I'll get some
You get a reward. Raven Shadow gives you a smooch.
I'll kiss you in the mouth, man, for real.
Wait, you're gonna get that beer in your mouth?
Well, I like Italian girls, so I figure it's not much different. No, it's exciting.
Wow. All right, go ahead, Raven Shadow.
All right, live fast, love hard, die with your mask on.
All right, Mars Man.
I'll be dead soon.
No, you won't. You're gonna live for. You're gonna outlive us all. I'm convinced of it now.
That was my plan with this podcast, but it looks like I'm changing my mind. But whatever, children, wherever you've, whatever. I hope you all die too.
Wow.
Not you.
Us or the listeners?
Everybody but you. I'd mostly just like you in Aries. But it's fleeting.
By the way, before we close things out, let me close out the chat room. And Julie Meow Meow says, "Oh, the Hellraiser score, 100%. I listen to it all the time."
I did have a thing I forgot, but I don't want to ruin it. I don't know. Julia Meow Meow, I know, is going to have a big announcement in a couple of weeks, so it's pretty exciting. You guys are going to be fucking stoked.
She is going to smother you with a pillow?
I've asked her. But that doesn't make her special. I've asked everyone.
Julie Meow Meows, you probably know this since you're such a fan, but have you ever heard the score that was done by Coil for the Hellraisers? They were initially hired to do the score, and then it turns out, I forget who turned it down. I don't know if it was Clive Barker or some of the higher-ups. I think it was
some dick who wanted someone else to do it, basically, and I don't think they ended up doing it either.
I think you're right. There were some real interesting circumstances. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was fucking awesome. Let me see if I can find. I'll see if I can play that real quick before we end things here. But it was Coil.
It's incredible. I think what happened
here it is.
That they
go ahead, Marcia.
They got them there to talk about it, and the dick producer, who was being an arty dick producer, said, "You don't know it." Was throwing score rhetoric at them, like film nerd score rhetoric at them, and they were like, "I don't know. Clive Barker just asked us, and we just play music," and so they lost the job.
So it's Coil released it. I don't know if it was released in 1987, but that's when it was supposed to come out. But it's called the Unreleased Themes for Hellraiser. There's 6 tracks. There's the Hellraiser theme, Hellbound Heart box theme, No New World, Attack of the Cenopods, and main title. I can't remember if it's the main title or the box theme that was the best one. I'll play the main title. But yeah, this is it can be found. It's out there. I don't know. I don't think it ever got an official release, but you can find it out there on the internet. But it's really creepy and really cool.
I think it bounced better for a change, though, because I do think that's a really good score.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah, I'm not saying that I prefer this one necessarily, but it's one of those cool little oddities.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is. So, I really dig this one.
The flip side is look how ahead of its time it is.
Look at what?
Look how ahead of its time it is.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. So it can be found, Coil, the unreleased themes for Hellraiser. All right, well, everyone said their goodbyes except me. So next week we're working on some more guests. I don't have any confirmations for next week, but it could always pop up, sort of like it happened this week with Preston. But it's possible that we could have a guest next week. But we are going to be talking about boarding school. So if you guys want to check that out, it is available on VOD right now. It looks like a pretty interesting movie, and I know that our boy Tony Timpone was hyping it up online. He really enjoyed it. So yeah, if you respect Tony's opinion, check it out. And then you can hear what we think next week. So, well, that is going to do it, and we shall see you guys next week.